Oh fuck.
You think we're good or we're good?
No, you're good.
You know what's funny? Like I love Vines, but like I don't like TikTok. Well, I don't watch. I feel like Vines were like.
TikTok makes me feel weird because I get horny over a bunch of 16-year-olds.
And then you get like a random like thing thrown at you that you shouldn't see. I don't even.
That's all TikTok.
Do you have TikTok?
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I've actually, Dean Lucas is joining us on the podcast to talk about nothing in particular.
Nothing in particular, like always.
Yeah, just a couple of mates hanging out.
Yeah.
We've been talking for the last day, but we'll see if we can fill a couple of hours here for you.
I do like it how we'll be talking about something and we'll stop and be like, oh, it's too good.
Yeah,
like this.
We should just wait.
We'll save it. I was thinking next time, I'll just let you know when I'm coming into town, and you just have the studio set up, and I'll just walk straight in.
That's how it needs to happen. But no. I haven't spoken about this, but for the last month, I've actually deleted all my social media off my phone. And then I've got this phone here is the work phone that stays at work.
The Gypsy phone, yeah.
Ronan's now got the Instagram login, so he can post, but he hasn't yet.
I'm pretty sure everyone that calls 1-800 Gypsy goes straight to that phone.
Yeah, that's the 1-800 Gypsy
We have a
phone,
hotline. Call him whenever you like.
But I will say, so yeah, how it works now is I still look at Instagram and shit, but it's just on that phone.
Yeah.
And then when this phone, like my phone, just nothing on there. The only thing I got on there is like the news app, and that's it.
Yeah.
And like the YouTube studio.
And I bet you feel better.
Dude, actually like insane amounts better, because like the first day that I did it, I like got everything off. I left work, went home, and then I went to the gym. The scary thing is, so like, you know, I got like my message thing down here, and then you got like, you can click into like, that's the social where all like the, you know, Instagram, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Every single time, and it's embarrassing to admit, but this is a reality situation, and I feel like most people are probably the same. Every single time I like answered a text, an email, a call, I would miraculously end up in Instagram.
Yeah.
Every fucking time. And I know this because as soon as I deleted it, I would like do my text and then I'd click in and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Didn't even really mean to go into that.
Yeah.
It was just like
It's a habit.
force of habit, man. Like a really, really bad habit.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this.
A good thing I got told to do is if you just delete it, and then if you need it, just use Safari, because then like just that little bit of like resistance to like go onto Safari, open it up, type it in, you're just like, oh, I don't really need to look at it, and then you still got it. But also what Instagram does to make it harder is like it's harder to send photos through that version if you go on Safari. So it's like these little things.
You have to use the app.
Yeah, you got to use the app. Yeah, they force you into using the app, because then it's like, then you're on it more, and then they get what they want. They get more people, more views, more everything.
Yeah.
But like you say, as soon as you like, you go on your phone to reply to someone, and then like 15 minutes has gone by, and you're like, what was I doing? It just clears the slate. Hey, like it just wipes whatever you were thinking, whatever you were doing, and just like, what's happening?
Yeah, there was just so many times that I was like, just ended up in the scroll hole.
Yeah.
Just like fully inadvertently replied to a text, replied to an email, and then I was just like, oh fuck,
And you can't be productive. Like I noticed when I moved into my my place in Bright, it was in like a black spot where it had no signal, no nothing. So I didn't have any internet, and I didn't have Wi-Fi at the time. I didn't have phone signal, and it was honestly probably the best thing that could have happened, because I was moving in and I was doing a heap of renos and stuff. And dude, you just get shit done. Like if you don't, because I'd wake up most mornings, check my phone, look at stuff, and then you kind of get out of bed, and then it just would always come back to that every half an hour or something, you might get a message or something. And just because I didn't have that, as soon as I would get to that like bored stage where you'd be like, look at your phone, I'd just be like, I'm just going to do something else. And dude, I like moved my entire into my entire house in probably like 3 days, started doing reno straight away.
Yeah, because you just had time.
I said time. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like you see really productive people, they just cut out that wasteful, they just manage their time so much better. And like you look at your phone, and sometimes you might think, oh, it'll be a 2-second thing. And then 20 minutes has gone by. And then you've not only like lost those 20 minutes, but then you've got to get back into whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that takes another like 10-15 minutes to get your head back into what you're doing and then work it out.
Big time, man.
Oh, it's just a spiral. It's funny how it's like, I always shit can social media, but then like I use it for a job as well. So it's like that two-edged sword of like how much to use it.
Well, it's just got to be a tool, and that's the way that I have now thought of it. And I've got it the thing that I do the most on Instagram is reply to messages. That's the big thing. Like, I don't really scroll. I don't look at stories that much. Like, you can accidentally go there. Yeah. You know, like you can kind of get caught up going there. Yeah. But for the most part, it's just messages. Yeah. And I've got the message thing on like I've got like a work browser. Yeah. It's like this thing called Biscuit. So like all the tabs that I use, so it's like got YouTube Studio, iTunes, PayPal, fucking Shopify, like everything that I use is on one internet browser already logged in. So I've got Instagram on there, and then I just do my replies through there, because you can't scroll like you said on the actual browser. It's pretty limited, but the messages work good. So I was like, fuck, all I do messages, and sweet.
Dude, I've been so tempted just to unfollow everyone on my thing, and not for like a cocky move or anything, but like then you just can't scroll, you can't get stuck in it, and it's like more of a personal thing for me to be like, it's like, you know, we're talking about like if you've got certain things, it's like it's so hard to like resist to use them. So it's like if you just wipe the slate of everyone on there, it's like, well then I'll go on, I'll just post what I need to post, keep people happy, reply to messaging, and then that's it. And then it's like you can't scroll then. But also it is nice to see now and again, it's like sometimes it's good to see what people are doing and whatnot. Even like when I flew into Brisbane, it's like you can use it as a tool. So I put up a photo flying into Brisbane, and then suddenly that heap of people that lived around here were just like, oh, you're in town, let's catch up. So then it's like, it's just like you literally like throw something out there and see what you get back. So it's like super handy for that kind of stuff. But it's like, I think
it's just like the discipline around it is so hard, because like you're fighting against, like your willpower is fighting against the best engineers and the best, you know, the best tech people in the world are trying to addict you to that phone. And they're trying to keep you on that platform. And it's like, I mean, it's a bit of a contradiction, because like I'm making content for that platform. But it's just a weird, it's a weird world. So I'm trying to just build some discipline around it, you know? I
think it's like we say, like if you can educate people to know how to use it, like that's the thing, because it's like, it's good and it's also bad, but that's like most things out there. So it's like, it's same with food. It's like you can enjoy food, doesn't mean you have to overindulge in it and get fat. And that's the same with social media. I think like people just overindulge in it, but don't see it having the same effect as food, because if you eat too much food, you get fat. It's real obvious. If you use too much social media, it's kind of that hidden issue where it's like you're probably more anxious, or like you're more depressed, or you like, like you but you can't really see that. And a lot of people try and hide it as well. And then they get stuck more into the phone, which then it's like that snowball effect in the wrong direction. But it can, like, dude, I got home back to Australia because of social media. Like I posted a thing on my story.
Oh yeah, how crazy was that? You fucking got a jet home.
I got a PJ home.
PJs, bro.
I didn't even like, because
speaking of that, have you got photos of that on your Instagram?
I got a photo.
Go on there, Ryan.
We'll go find it. So I was so this is after, so I was away for like 4 months at this point, like obviously in Europe and America, and I booked my team booked me a flight home straight after the Snowshoe World Cup. Anyway, while we're at Snowshoe, down there it is.
Fucking look at him go on the PJ.
Oh, how good's just got my pillow as well. BYO pillow, leopard hair. It was so funny because I was in America, booked I had my flight booked. Anyway, during Snowshoe, all the Australians just kept losing flights. Like everyone, like Troy Brosnan, like all the Hannahs, everyone's like, yeah, my flight's cancelled. Anyway, mine hadn't been cancelled, and I was kind of like, maybe I'm the lucky one, but it's like that kind of like too good to be true kind of scenario. So spend the night in Washington after the race. Spend the night in Washington. My team went home because they all flew out to France, so they went home the day before. And so this is after my crash as well. So I'm like, my shoulder's a bit messed up. I'm pretty sore. I've got like a bike bag, a bike box, a pillow, all my gear. Anyway, get to the airport the next day, go up to the counter, and the lady's like, "Yep, like this is my flight. Here's my information." And she's like, "Oh, that's weird. It's not coming up." And I was like, "Oh no, here we go." So she's like, I was like, "Is it cancelled?" And she's like, "No, it doesn't look like it's cancelled." And I was like, "Okay, sweet." Anyway, she keeps looking, and I'm like, "No, this is not looking good." So then eventually she's like, "The flight hasn't been cancelled, but it just hasn't been running." And it's what they call ghost flights. So if an airline cancels...
Sounds hard to catch.
Very hard to catch. So if a airline cancels a route from, because I was supposed to go Washington, LA, Fiji, Sydney, and if they cancel a route, they can't actually keep running it. Another airline can take it, so they don't cancel it. They just, you can book a flight. The flight looks like it's running, but it hadn't run for like 2.5 months. So it's like I got there and they're just like, sorry, there's no flight, even though we've paid for it and everything. So I was like, sweet, what do I do? Kind of like stuck in Washington Airport. So luckily it's pretty crazy. Like I've got friends all around the world, and it's like, I feel like it's very rare that you can just message someone in like California and be like, hey, can I come crash at yours? So message a friend, Caroline Herrick, which is Andrew Herrick's daughter, who I met when I was on Intense. And I was like, can you pick me up from LA? Like I'm a bit stuck at the moment. And she's like, yeah, no worries. I've got a house we can crash at. Sweet. So I flew to LA, got there. She picked me up, and then we're just like cruising to Laguna Beach to stay at like her like stepmom's house. And it's just funny because I was like literally just stuck 1 second, and now I'm like in this BMW cruising like down the freeway to go to Laguna Beach, and I was just like, life is a roller coaster, hey. So I'm there for a couple days just hanging out, and the whole time I'm like, do I try and get a flight home? Do I try and stay? Like what's the move here? And I was pretty ready to go home. Like my girlfriend was back home, and I was like, it's been a long time since I've seen her, so I was like, I'm ready to go. Anyway, I started looking, like maybe going to the embassy, applying. I started looking on Facebook, stuff like that. And then getting back to the social media thing, I put up a status saying, hey, I'm stuck in America, can anyone help, pretty much. Anyway, a day later, a lady from Wollongong got onto me, and she's like, hey, I'm a travel agent. This might seem a bit sus, but I can help you get home. You just have to fly to from LA to New Zealand, and then you get a private jet from New Zealand to Australia. And I was like, this sounds a bit scammy, because it's it's just like, it seemed like too good to be true. Yeah. And she's like, the flight from LA to New Zealand standard price, and then the private jet's going to be a bit more on top of that. And then I was like, what does the private jet look like? And she sent me a photo of it. I was like, oh, I was like, it's kind of real tempted. Anyway, I got onto my team, and Scott were lucky enough. They're like, we won't pay for all of it, but we'll pay for half. And the fact I've been in Europe all year, like normally I have like 1 or 2 back and forth. So realistically, travel budget was like still not too bad. So they're like, yep, go ahead, you can do it. You just got to pay the other half. And I'm like, I'll pay that to go on a private jet, like kind of like once in a lifetime kind of shit. So then book it all, and like got to Sydney. Got to Auckland, sorry. And it's just me and a few other people like waiting around. And it's still like, it's really sus because you're not even supposed to fly into New Zealand. Like that was like off limits altogether. So
that's what I thought. Yeah,
to even fly in there was a bit like, is this okay kind of thing? Anyway, we fly in, land, and then we just get kind of put in this random waiting area. And then come pick us up. We're driving around. We're like, what's this plane going to look like? We're going to go like rock up at a Cessna or something. Is this like real dodgy? Anyway, we rock up. There's obviously the private jet, and everyone's like so nice and like real outgoing. Get on the plane. It was just like a bit of a trip, and I'm like sitting there, and the guy next to me is a super friendly guy, and I'm like chatting to him for a little bit, and he's like, yeah, just I'm in like sports, like marketing stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, keep chatting. And I was like, what exactly do you do, like, to be on a private, like, I'm like, this is very rare for me, but like he seemed like he'd probably done it a few times. Yeah. And I asked him what he did, and he's like, you know the Sea Eagles? Yeah. He owned the Sea Eagles. So he was like, he flies in between like New York and in Sydney.
What a G.
Anyway, Scott, I can't remember his last name, but it was Scott someone, and he owned the Sea Eagles, and he was just like the biggest legend, hey? So we were just on there, and anyway, it was quite weird to get off a private jet and then hop on a bus to hotel quarantine. I went from like this high to like a low super quick, but it was like, I reckon we've got to be one of the first people to hop off a private jet onto like a normal school bus.
Just a shit old bus.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a super cool experience. Like even the captain would like get up, chat with us. He's like, yeah, come into the cockpit, hang out. They were like super friendly, but yeah, cool experience for sure. But it was just one of those things where you're just like, what is life going to throw at you?
How much did it end up costing?
So to get, I think it was all up like from LA and then Auckland and then Auckland to Sydney. I think it was 13 grand all up. So like I think the first flight was like probably like maybe 2 grand. So there's the private jet from like Auckland. It was like a bit over 10, I'd say. So
fuck, it's pretty expensive.
It's a lot of cash, yeah. But I was just like, if I can just pay for half of that, I'm happy, which they did. So thank you to Scott for like looking out for me, because I was looking like, do I just stay in America and just hang out for a while? But like, you know, when you're not present, you're not in that moment, and you're just like, I was injured, so I was like, it was hard to enjoy shit anyway. And then it's like, I've been away for so long.
At some point you just want to go home.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'll pay that. Because then it was coming back that like, they didn't know when, like, because it's so up in the air when we were going to open up. Like now it looks pretty solid that we're open up.
Can you Google, like, isn't today, like, quarantine's done today?
Looks like
I think the
first international flight was yesterday.
Was it?
I think 1st of November they said there were like no more hotel quarantine.
I just saw today though. I was like looking at some stuff in the news app. That's been the one good thing about deleting social media. The only thing that I've got
Is
on my
news.
phone, I got the news app, and I subscribe to like Washington Post and New
Yeah.
York Times and stuff, because I've just stopped like reading the news or whatever.
Oh, dude, it's so like I remember being away, and I would see stuff in Australia, and it would make me so like I was
remember
more
talking about that yesterday.
I was more angry being away
Yeah.
because like I was living this completely normal
Normal
life,
life.
and then I was like seeing all my friends and family and stuff go through this shit, and it honestly it annoyed me so much more than when I was in lockdown and deep in it. It's like you kind of like you're on the ride and you're like, oh,
and you're with everyone else, and it's like, oh well,
yeah,
all
we're in
doing
it together. But then when I was away and I was like,
This is fucking stupid.
oh, dude, when it's like I was in Amsterdam, and I think there was like 10,000 cases a day, and I called my girlfriend and she's like, oh, it's pretty scary back home, we've had like 500 cases, and I'm like, I'm literally living a completely normal life and there's like 10,000 a day, and I get like they were more vaccinated so they could kind of open up more, but it was just this crazy like fear factor that was like in Australia. Like my girlfriend was worried when she was calling me because of that number, and I'm just like,
It's fine.
yeah, I'm just like, I just to go from that to this.
The whole what's it called, like the Dunbar number or whatever, where it's like 150 people is like basically all that we can kind of like keep in our brain.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's kind of one of the weird things when you're dealing with like a pandemic and all this shit, is that it's like we can't really comprehend what 10,000 people looks like.
Yeah.
You know, or when you've got a population of like 300 million or 22 million, but then you've got like 1,000 cases. It's like you can't look at 1,000 in 22 million. You know, so it's like we think we can comprehend the numbers, but in reality, like I just don't think we're good enough or we have like enough computing power in our brain to think, to actually know what that looks like. Because it's like if you laid out 22 million fucking pieces of checkers, white checkers, and they're like population without corona, and then you fucking have black checkers as population with corona, you probably couldn't even see the black checkers. You know, but in our heads we can relate to 1,000 in the same way we can relate to 20 million. We're like, oh yeah, it's sweet, yeah, I get it. It's like, well, you sort of you can't even see the actual, I guess, like
I feel like it's so much how it's presented to you as well. It's like you can have like you can tell someone the same thing two different ways, or present it two different ways to get completely different reactions.
Oh, Delta Plus. That's the new one. I'm not even joking.
You really?
Just go to YouTube, Rones. Because there's the little news thing that comes up in my YouTube.
That's what I mean. It's like, I guess it's the whole idea.
Let's see if this just slide down.
It's almost like that whole thing of like marketing fear.
Yeah.
Because fear can equal control. So it's like, if you can market it a different way.
Can you scroll across that? Or click into, go click that down thing there. No. Oh yeah, there you go. COVID-19 variant Delta Plus detected.
It sounds like an upgrade on a plane.
It's fucking retarded. Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
Not a high concern yet. Fuck yeah. Oh, okay. That's a trap house, homie. Tell me about Delta Plus. What do I got to worry about?
Can't wait till I never hear the word case again.
I know, eh?
Besides briefcase, that's all I want to hear.
I wonder. Fast forward it, Rones. Yeah, here you go. Delta Plus. Where's the plus? What's the plus?
Dunno.
course it has.
Because it was funny as well, because like, you know, when like the new strain of Delta came out and it was actually less deadly but more contagious, but then they're just like, I saw a heap of stuff saying that it's like you're more likely to get it, but you're less likely to get a really negative effect from it.
Yeah.
But it's like they just focus on the more contagious part. It's like you just, whatever way you want to spin it to make it seem worse than it is.
It's just a brand name.
Yeah.
It's a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just marketing a brand to us. Like, I fucking cannot wait until it's done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just fully over it.
Oh man, even now, like just getting on, like I said, getting on a plane and flying up here, it's like you get this new appreciation for like, like it's, and I really hope a lot of people get that once it is like back to semi-normal. It's like what we lost and now you get it back. It sounds kind of weird to compare it to something like a war, because it
sort of is
in the sense that it's like we all went through it together, like on a global scale, and like people have got affected differently, and like you lost a certain level of normalness, so it's like you can kind of relate. So in that sense, I hope after that, like you see after like war times and stuff, everyone's just like, it's just a good time in life. So I hope that comes from this. It was like we got through the struggle and now we can appreciate going to sports events and going to like having stuff like that.
Dude, I am fucking desperate to be in a mosh pit.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some cunts' heads off in a mosh pit, and I hope someone takes my head off as well.
Oh, man.
Like, just full Soundwave 2010 vibes.
Yeah.
Like, Limp Bizkit, let's fucking go.
When was the last time you went to something like that?
Dude, yeah, I don't know. I haven't been on a plane since I come back from Burleigh in February 2020.
Jesus. That's a long time for someone that's like life is pretty well based around traveling.
Yeah.
Like I know when I stayed home for most of 2020, it was like, because I get real like itchy feet and I always like, I've got to move. I don't know why. I think it's like, it's a good problem to have, but it's also a bit of a problem. Like when I got back from...
You're still pretty young though.
Yeah,
really.
26, yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't, well, I guess COVID really stopped me.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to sort of settle down until I was like 29, 30.
Yeah.
Not like settle down, but I used to just travel constantly. I used to want to be moving constantly, going to new places, doing new things. Like that was my whole jam. But I think you just slowly sort of get a bit more like you want to have some kind of like roots in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how often would you stay in one spot before you're like, okay,
3 months?
Yeah, I'm similar. I'd be like 2-3 months, and I'm just like, what's happening? Like, you just get that like get real antsy.
Yeah, and even if I think back though, like right before COVID, I mean, we did New Zealand.
Yeah,
we did like the Townley thing, and then I went and did Vietnam, and then I went to Bali. So it's like that's 3 countries in fucking 3 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose like when you get forced to just sit in one place. But I'm so glad I've been through the period of just being home, only working, like head down, bum up. I mean, obviously like the business is done so much better. Yeah. But yeah, I learned a lot about myself by just being in one place for a long time. I think there's probably some holes in my game just because I traveled so much, you know, like I just didn't, there was just some shit that I was missing. So I'm kind of glad that I have gone through it, to be honest. And now I can see how fucking unproductive it is to travel. Like all I've done for the last 2 years is just be in like hyper productivity mode. Yeah. I'm like, all right, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we get this going? How do we get that going? Yeah. And now to leave, I'm like, dude, I ain't fucking leaving. Like that, all this shit won't happen. This won't happen. This won't happen. So yeah, it's been just that in itself has been a trip, but I can guarantee that when I do travel, I'm gonna really be soaking it in a completely different way. Yeah, it's not gonna be like a work trip, more or less. It's gonna be like even if it is a work trip, just no matter what I'm doing, it's just like soak it in. Yeah, be super present. Like don't take anything for granted, because you just don't fucking know. And especially like, I mean, the COVID thing, especially in Australia, like it wasn't that bad in terms of the numbers. There wasn't that many people dying. There wasn't like this catastrophe, but they just stopped us. Yeah. They just completely stopped us from doing anything. Yeah. And there was this crazy level of control that was implemented, and everyone went along with it, which, you know, what's your fucking choice? But it's like, I guess the scary thing that it showed me is that something doesn't even have to be that bad for them to just fully pull the pin on all the shit that you like want to do. And that to me is like scary. That gives you, like, I got the same thought from that as well. It's just like, well, if you can do stuff,
go do it. Because I had the option in the middle of the year. We had like a 5-week break, and a big part of me was like, do I come home? Do I do the quarantine?
Fuck that.
And I was like, but at the time I had a girlfriend that was in Tasmania, and I was just like, if you go 4.5 months without seeing someone, like, is that still going to be the same when you get back? So that was like my big draw card to come back. Anyway, I made the decision to not go, because I was just like, man, like 2 weeks in a box, and then how am I supposed to train properly mentally? How am I, like, it was just like, I could see it coming back, big negative effect on my season, staying over there. Let's go explore the world and go see stuff I really wanted to see. So I made the call not to come back, and like you said, it was just like, well, what can we go experience then? So in the 2 weeks, instead of sitting in a hotel box, I went to Amsterdam for like a week, had the absolute time of my life, just completely by myself. I met up with some people there for a little bit of it, but most of the time, dude, I just got a city bike and just like cruised around. Hey, like I just had the time of my life. Like I remember I was just like, I had no plan. I was like rocked up in Amsterdam, and I'm like, I have absolutely no plan of what I want to do. I just got a bike, and I'm just going to ride around, and I'll just see stuff that I wanted to do. Anyway, I was like riding around, and I went to a coffee shop. Anyway, ate some cake, may or may not have done stuff. Anyway,
did Amsterdam things.
Yeah, did Amsterdam things. And I was riding along and like feeling pretty good. Anyway, I go past this like store, and it was like this really nice suit shop, and I was like, whoa, I could get a suit. Like I was just like, yeah, I could definitely get a suit. So I'm like looking pretty like not bad, but not like, these were like expensive suits, and I was just like, I should go in here. So I go in there. As soon as you walk in, the guy comes up. There's like tailors like running, like it's hectic, like how like high end suits and stuff. So I go in there, and I look, like a guy comes up to me and he's like, what do you want, sir? And I was like, got my like ripped jeans and like kind of like just button up shirt and looking pretty ratty. I was like, I think I want a suit. And he's like, all right. And he's like, I was like, what's like the price range? And he's like, oh, like 600 to like 1,500 euros. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. So we like go downstairs, and he like gets me this suit, and I was like, I want something that like stands out. So he just goes and gets this white 3-piece suit, and I was like, yeah, that'll do it. So anyway, he gets this 3-piece suit. I tried it on. I was like, that's perfect. I think it was like 600 euros or something. And I was like, I just got a bonus from getting 6 at Leger. So I was like, bonus can go into the suit. So anyway, get it all tailor fitted. The guy like makes me like, it's real like bougie. So he makes me a coffee.
Have you got a photo of it on your Instagram?
I don't know. It's the suit I wore at World Champs.
I think I saw you in it.
I got that. This is dancing in it.
Oh, there you go.
This is the Michael Jackson dance. So
fucking hell.
This is quarantine. I was so bored. I was like, how can we make people happy? I was pretty proud of this move. That took a while to learn.
Yeah, like when I saw this, I was like, fuck, did he have this before quarantine, or is this like a quarantine thing?
So that was the one I got in Amsterdam. Anyway, they all tailor fitted it.
That's a nice suit.
Oh, it was really nice. I was so stoked when I got it, because I got it all tailor fitted and everything, and they put it in a bag for me to leave. And I was like, man, can I just wear it now? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I just like get dressed in my suit, a three-piece suit, get back on my bike in Amsterdam, and then just keep riding around the city, and just kept going to like, I'd just see like a museum or something, or like a cool shop, and I'd just go in, and it was so nice, man, because it was like completely shut off. There's another one there with the World Champs. That was like the track walk. See the middle?
Fuck. Down
one more. Yeah, that one.
That is so sick.
So a 3-piece suit with the leopard. Dude, I really hope people like, because I just started using like track walk as like
it was cool this year, all the stuff that you were doing.
I'm trying to motivate people just to kind of just be a little bit different, let your personality shine through a bit more, because like
that's so sick,
dude. I find it so like,
is that in Germany?
No, that's in Slovenia.
Yeah.
I should have done it for Lego Gang, would have made more sense. But
yeah, I was like, that's an Austrian thing, right?
Yeah. But I think the whole thing, man, is like we're paid to be looked at. Like that's my whole job, is like to be looked at, and like we get to pick what character we want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm like, be a character worth being looked at, and just like let your personality shine through. And I think a lot of it, man, because a lot of people like asking me if I planned any of this stuff, and it didn't really like, I didn't have any plan to like do the hair or the suit or anything. It kind of just happened. And
yeah, you just kind of doing your thing.
You just kind of do it. But it was funny when I met.
Fuck, that's gangster.
When I met my girlfriend in Tassie, I started going to like doofs and stuff with her down there, and just like the amount of people that were just like fully themselves in their own weird way, and it definitely opened me up to the idea of like, I think I'm a bit different, a bit
you
weird.
You were kind of like on the way to that as well.
Yeah.
Like the last couple years, you've been like slowly getting a bit more comfortable with that sort of shit.
Yeah, so she kind of just poured gasoline on it, and it just made me like realize, I'm like, let's just be me completely. And the reaction you get from people is so nice to be like, I'm just being myself, and people really enjoy that, because it's like, it is different. It's a bit weird, but I'm like, who wants to be normal, really? Yeah. So it was kind of funny as well, because I watched, the Michael Jordan documentary.
Yes.
And the bit about Dennis Rodman when he kind of comes out of his shell a little bit.
I haven't watched it all, but
it's
probably worth watching.
It's worth watching, yeah. But the whole thing was he met Madonna, and Madonna like kind of like opened you up to the idea of, and it's funny because I like, as I started doing this, I was like, my girlfriend was kind of like, it was like kind of like the Madonna in that sense, and because a lot of people compare it to Dennis Rodman as well, so I can see like the similarities there as well. So, but it was cool, man. It was almost like a bit of a social experiment how people reacted to it as well. So it was just like when I would do something and like some people would be real stoked and other people would kind of like,
judgy.
And I just found it really funny because I was just in the like this driver's seat of just like adding a bit more flavor, and like people would come up to me, like Rob Roscop came up to me and he's just like, dude, you like, because I think he's like the kind of like full 90s and like that more punk era and stuff like that, like Palmer and stuff, and like just bring some of that back.
Dude, I want someone to fucking put a speaker on their handlebars or like on their frame or seat post or something and just play like fucking
Have you not seen me do that?
Nah, but in a race
I did at Cannonball in Threadbow.
Did you?
I got
Is it on there?
Yeah.
Where's that? I want to see that, because that should be fucking sick.
If you go up, Ronan, there's because it's on IGTV, so if you click on that, it'll make it way easier to find videos. Yeah, it'll be down a bit. Yeah, I went to Cannonball and I played
Fuck, that is a crazy photo.
At the mountains.
Yeah.
Go down. It'll be a while ago. It was like end of 2019. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Fuck, you're pretty good with your socials.
Keep going. I think, up. Keep going up a little bit more.
You just got weird after you left your first
pretty much.
Tales. That's what happened.
See the one there with 51.3k on the left? Up, that one. And it's like coming out of my cage, and it's like when I leave the start gate. Yeah, go full volume. Ready? I'm just like waiting for the perfect time to turn it on. So I'm just waiting. So I got my phone here. Listen to the coming out of my cage, and I come out of the Stargate. I didn't plan it, but it's just fucking perfect. There you go.
You're a fucking lord.
Wait, listen.
Coming out of my cage and I'm doing just fine. This is unreal.
Yeah, I just like fully strapped a Yui boom to the bottom of my down shoe. You know what the best thing was, man? And like
you can't really hear it now though, eh?
I can actually hear it pretty well. Yeah. But because of the GoPro and the wind, it just gets that. You hear it more in like the tighter stuff. If you skip it forwards, Ronan.
Fast forward it.
Yeah, go to like maybe halfway or so.
Fuck, you're hooking.
Dude, you know what the best thing was? So I did that on like the Friday, and then on the Saturday there was like maybe 7 kids with speakers strapped to their bikes.
That's so sick.
And I was like, that when you see stuff like that, that actually like really shows the influence.
Turn it off, friend.
That really shows the influence that you can have on people. And I love doing stuff like that where it's like, it just gets people hyped, and especially the kids, and they're just like, dude, just strap a speaker to your bike and just like, it actually pumps me up so much when I listen to music. Like I went to Derby and they've got a track called Air You Going.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing, put a speaker on my my top tube of my bike and just played these chilled beats and was just riding this like flow track, and I was just like, this like and honestly made me like, when I do stuff like that, it just makes me love mountain biking. Like I kind of was there for a day and I was like, I see the whole like mountain bike thing where you don't have to race, you're just getting like
soul surfer.
Yeah, exactly. Like you always see it with like snowboarders and stuff. Like I don't ride competitions. I'm just a free rider kind of thing. Yeah. And I was like always like the racer side, and I was like, I kind of see it now.
Yeah.
It was just fun, man. It was like really fun. But I had a plan that I was gonna get a small speaker, strap it to my like my bars. And it was, what I was going to do was like be in the start gate, put like a song before the song that was like 30 seconds of just nothing, and like hop in the start gate, 30 seconds, press play, and then put my phone in my pocket. Yeah. And then do my race run with the music. As soon as 30 seconds, I'd open the gate and the music would start, because it's, you're not allowed to have speakers or stuff like that on your bike. But you know, it's because Reese Wilson actually he's got earpods that he runs sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And like when he rides and he's like and races and he loves it. And I don't have earpods, but I think I'm going to try it next year because I've kind of been against it in a way because when you talk about getting in flow state, I think sometimes it's good not to have the music and just be in the moment.
I don't like wearing music when I ride.
Yeah, I didn't mind the speaker because
I was going to say the speakers probably would work
because it's almost like you hear it, but you're like when I get like a super loud crowd, it's like it's all there, but it makes me focus in more. And I think people that are really good at racing, like the louder it gets, the more you focus in. I guess in like if you're really good at anything, it's like I think it enhances that flow state because it's like the noise almost cancels out anything else. It's like you're not focusing on little things. It's so loud that you've like if you don't focus in, you get kind of I guess
taken out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I've heard some people wear like earplugs and stuff, so maybe it's the opposite for them.
I wear like earplugs when I ride moto, so I can't hear the bike as much. Because to me, it's just more peaceful.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes when I ride, I'm like, this is fucking hectic.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really noisy. It's really fucking loud. My bike sounds super aggressive.
Yeah.
I just want to fucking
want to chill,
relax and just try and do my shit properly, you know?
Yeah.
But that was after Cape York. I remember the first time I ever tried riding with earplugs in. It was Mariba Club Day, and I knocked myself out. Hectic. Like a lapper crashed in the whoops, and I hit this lapper.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I remember I was just a head case kid, but I was like, it made me ride way faster, and then I had this huge crash, and then I was like, nah, I don't want to do it. And then Cape York, we did that ride, and there's just no way you could do that ride without earplugs because your bike's just fucking wide open the whole time. It's so noisy, and then you're with all the other dudes, so you're riding like kind of two wide, and then there's another two in front, another two behind. So after that, I run the earplugs for that whole trip, and then I was like, this is me, man.
It's funny how you crashed and then you related crashing with earplugs. I think it's like neuro association when you have like a negative thing happen to you and then you associate that with earplugs, and like obviously earplugs didn't make you crash, but because of that association with it, you're like, no more earplugs. It's funny. Athletes are like, I know for myself, like you have like routines and stuff, and sometimes if you add something and then it doesn't go right, then you just like, okay, never again, even though it probably was like, it was nothing to do with that. But we're very like we're kids in a way. Like I always joke about
it's all just a story.
Yeah.
We're all just telling ourselves a story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's no actual relevance a lot of times to the story, you know? Like you could say, like I use the analogy all the time, like you got two twin brothers, you ask them to lift the exact same weights, the exact same amount of times. One of them associates the pain in his legs with growth, and this is going to be great for me, I'm building my muscles. And then the other guy's like, I'm going to be so fucking sore tomorrow, I'm going to and it's like literally the exact same stimulus, but the story that you tell yourself is different. So it's like anytime I feel any like resistance to shit, I'm just like, just tell yourself a different story. Just literally try and rewrite the story, even if you go with your original option. But like, where's the other story here that doesn't make you feel like this? And you can do that with anything. Literally at any point. It's like, that's the one thing, you know how it's like, the whole idea is like, if something is a negative in your life, it's like, you're the one that made it a negative. You can also make that a positive. You've just got to change the story and the belief of what you think that event or that thing is going to do. Like, so it's like, if you... like you said, it's exactly like you said with the lifting something. It's like you can tell yourself two stories and one's going to give you a negative or a positive, but it's up to you. But I think a lot of people have this idea that it's like, if something is seen as being bad, that they've got to react that way. And it's like, perfect example. This is a really good example because I remember I talked about it with the suicide thing. It's like that could be looked at as such a negative, but then the positive that's come out of it. And a recent example, so we're talking about like Jack Moyer. He in 2019, he kind of got a bit screwed with a ride and what was going to happen. Anyway, it looked like he had nothing, and then he had to go to enduro to kind of like salvage his
career and keep it going. And now he's world champion.
World champ.
Yeah, I was like, that could.
Shout out to Jack Moyer, everybody.
But how crazy is that? Like, that could be looked at as like, I don't want to race enduro. I'm a downhiller. Oh, they're making me race enduro. Start telling you this story. My career's done. It's like, I'm washed up. I'm whatever. I don't want to do this anymore. Like whatever. But instead of that, you could go and look at like, oh, I could be world champion in 2 years. And that's what he did. But it's like, it's how you look at that, and then the belief you have to actually chase that up. It's crazy. Because I always tell people, I'm like, there's no such thing as bad things. It's like, there's lessons that you get that you either put a negative or positive on. And I was like, you can't put a negative or a positive on it until it plays out.
Exactly.
And it plays out when you die.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, well, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many times in your life can you trace back a success to a negative start?
This podcast. This podcast came out of me not being allowed back in America.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you'd be like, oh, my life's done. That's everything.
Yeah.
Or, okay, new path.
I remember sitting in that fucking room, like when they locked me up in the airport, and I was just like, I can't believe I fucked my life like this.
Yeah.
Like, I was so fucking bummed, dude.
Yeah.
And then, like, that lasted for maybe like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, because I was carrying on like a fuckhead, they put me in like a cell. And and then I spent like 35 minutes hating my life. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna brainstorm for the next 20 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna think about how I'm gonna make my life good again.
Yeah.
And then this comes out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, there's so many times, like even, you know, breaking my hip, that was kind of like a gnarly thing to go through. But then I put so much effort into the stretching, and because of that, I learned so much about mobility. And then I hurt my shoulder, and it's like, oh, I know how to fix this. Like, I just got to do the work, I got to do stretching, and I'll learn about it. And then ultimately, I went back to when I started training jiu-jitsu again after breaking my hip. But like, there was a few months where it was just like I was in crazy pain. But I could start to see the flexibility that I'd got made my jiu-jitsu like 20 times better.
Yeah.
So it's like I took a 6 months of not doing jiu-jitsu but stretching like a madman, and then I came back and I was probably better at jiu-jitsu than if I spent 6 months uninjured.
Yeah.
Because I focused on this area that has this like crazy potential to actually like give gains, you know?
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing. It's like, what did they say? God closes the door, but he opens a window. It's like, you just got to look for those windows. And people like see the shut door and then they like mope around and go, oh, it's over. But I think, you know, you said you get better at finding those windows, because it's like, I know whenever something to me that happens that you would see as being a negative or something that goes wrong, I'm almost like, what am I going to learn from this, and what can I do to use this to then give me power to actually grow, or like to chase something new or do something new? Because it's like, yeah, it's like you've got to just kind of keep your eyes wide open, don't you? You can't go into something and be like, okay, this is it, it's over. Because I always tell people, like, things happen to you and you get two choices. You either can grow for it, become a better person and like learn and grow, or you can get destroyed by it. And it's like, you make that decision, or you can just sit in the middle and not do anything. But realistically, over a long-term period, that's going to kind of destroy you as well. So it's like, you've got two lanes you've kind of got to go to when a negative thing happens to you. And I'm like, go for the positive thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, actually, because, you know, we just said like, negative things or trauma or stuff, like that's what you need to use power to then not go back to that point. It's like, that needs to give you, because I've been reading this book and it talks about like pain and pleasure. Like, everything we do is to either gain pleasure or not prevent pain. Yeah. And it's like, I guess we talked about with the whole podcast thing, it's like, you want it to grow because you don't want to go back to that point of not having money.
Yeah.
So your driving factor is not to be in pain, but you're not so focused on the actual pleasure of like growing the podcast kind of thing. And it's like, it's funny how that works. It's like, because people are more...
Yeah, the negative drives me more than the positive. Like, I don't really care for the positive. Yeah. I just don't want the negative. Yeah. Which is fucking weird to think about.
It is funny how that works. So I have a perfect example of that. So in 2017, I didn't have a very good year, and at the end of the year when we were in Cairns after World Champs, I was like asked intense. I was like, what's happening next? Like, my contract was up, and they were like, oh, we don't know, like, we're not sure, like, didn't have the best year. So I fully understand. It was like, I could have got dropped, and they actually offered my ride to someone else, but they turned it down. So then I was kind of like the second option. Anyway, I found all this out and I was like, man, the dream was almost, possibly could have got another team, who knows how it would have gone. But to me, I was like, the dream was almost over. And when they gave me that phone call and they said, hey, we want to put you on for next year, I like had that pain of possibly losing that ride. And that motivated me so much that I changed my training, I changed my approach, I changed everything. And then I went from barely even being able to get a ride to the first race that next year was in Croatia, qualify second, go down last, get third. I was just like, went from no one was looking at me to everyone. And that all came from the motivation of the pain of losing that ride, not the
want to win.
It was like, I could have lost this. So it's like that, like, pain is a massive motivator.
Oh yeah.
Because like for me, like, I get the whole like pleasure thing. Like if you obviously do well, you might get a bigger salary, you get like the, I guess, people look at you like you're a bit more famous, like all that kind of stuff. But that's like, it's not that driving really. And I think once you've done it for long enough and you've kind of tasted that, it kind of gets a bit, I don't know, it just doesn't have the same feeling to it, I get.
Well, like, I mean, you listened to the little clip from Gwyn yesterday where he was talking about, you know, like it's almost like depressing to be on top for that long because it's just like so hard to maintain, you know, maintain that level. So it's like, even when you get all the things you think you want, like it comes with problems. Like everything in your life comes with like a weight and essentially like there's two sides to everything. Like, oh, you get all the success you've ever wanted. Now you've got to deal with the trappings that come with that success. And now a second place is as good as getting last. Yeah. Whereas 5 years ago, if you got a second place, it was like, holy fuck, you are the man right now. Yeah. You know, and then, 5 years later, you get second, like, well, fuck, what
am I doing? I think you just lift your standards so high that then you want to keep them there. And I think once you fall, like you lower them down, like you said, you can get quite disappointed in that. And it's also, dude, it's a lonely thing being like the best at anything or putting the time in to become the best at anything. And I think especially this year just gone, I felt very like a bit isolated, like even at like, because even I guess you'd know this as well, like when you travel so much and you're always around new people, like it's awesome because you have such a large, I guess, net of friends and people like that support and love you, but it's like you're always moving and you're always kind of like in
it's always like a fresh conversation with people too, like let's say me and Sam, like I see him most days, there's no fresh interaction between we're like so going through the motions. It's the same as like Rones and Maddie and like all these people that I'm around, there's no like high energy like, hey man, how are you, like what dude, how you been? But it's like when you travel,
I get that all the time,
you're just like getting this like constant energy from people, and that stuff like is contagious in a way.
I think it's like it's good and bad. Like it's good because you're constantly like, people are always excited to see me, I think, because I'm always like the new face or like coming in, and I do move around so much, and I think because I'm doing so much as well that it's like that is a bit of excitement in itself. But then like I talked about this last time as well, it's like your solid group of people around you, like your team is like something that I feel like I lack a little bit, and it's something that I felt like hindered me a bit this year. Like I love my like Scott Factory Racing team, but they're also French, so there's a bit of a language barrier. And then just also being in France for so long, like I look at it, so like I train pretty much by myself, just the fact that there isn't that many people around me that can have like a job like that where they've got so much free time. So like you kind of train by yourself most of the time, and then you go overseas and you're in a foreign country and you're then a bit isolated through the language barrier as well. So it was like this year I really felt like I need like more of a solid kind of team around me. And that's also a reason when I started to question, because I met my girlfriend just before I went away, and that was like a massive, like it honestly, like I hadn't met someone and felt this way in so long. And then I knew there was like a time limit before I went away. So it was like, I met her and I was like, holy shit, like you have fully changed my mindset and all these things. And I was like, I only have this amount of time before I go away. So then I also try to put a lot of effort in to make that solid enough that I could go away and then come back and it would still be a real thing. So even when I was in that, I was like, before I went away, I was like, because I've been like pretty close with girls, and then you go away for 3 months, 4 months, whatever. And I've been away before, and I was talking to a girl, and like we were pretty serious. And I went away, she met someone else, and then it was done. And then I thought, if that happened again now, it's like, how many times do you want to go around this circle of like, yeah, you live a cool life, yeah, I get to travel, yeah, I get to do all these things, but to have like a solid connection with someone that's like lasting. Because I'm like not super old, but 26, I'm like, you kind of want to meet someone eventually. So that was it played on my mind so much, and it struggled when I was away because I wasn't present with what I was doing a lot of the time. Like I would be at a race and like, dude, I just like miss my girlfriend, and like it was just like that simple. And it's like, it's kind of, that's just like, because I say when you're also a bit isolated as well in that sense, and like you have that person that's kind of like becomes more or less like your team or like your group around you, and then you lose that. It's just like, man, it's just a bit. And then I would see people as well over there that they go home after every race, they have their girlfriends come to like all that kind of stuff. Obviously we couldn't do that with COVID and whatnot, so I was seeing that. I was just a bit jealous of the whole thing. So now my goal would be to like have that kind of team around me and have like a solid group with me that could then help me next year. Because that's like, you look at when I started riding mountain bikes, because like anyone, you ride with your buddies, you go out on the weekend, you're always around people. And as you get better, they get
You
jobs,
slowly get more isolated.
they get girlfriends, they like have their own lives to live, which is fine. But man, I went from the youngest guy in the group that had like 10 people constantly riding with me, that I was like just jumping in cars and go on races and stuff, to like I go to like a Vic Series race now and there might be 2 people that I started racing that are still there, like what in my like immediate group of friends. And like I love it because like there's all these kids that look up to me now and follow me, but it's like it's not me going there with my buddies. It's like it's all changed in that way. So it's really cool, but it's different than like, so it's like you start doing something for a reason that then changes, and then you just like, it's like you've got to look at the value of where you see yourself. And I still really want to keep racing and like want to keep doing it, but I think I just want to have more of a solid team around me to do it and not be so isolated anymore, or not be so alone in that sense, because I think when you get that, like longevity's much more realistic thing instead of just like, and it's like anything, man, you put a good team around you, like you've got Sam and stuff like that, and like it's so much more satisfying to like win with a team of people around you, and not just
and be around people that like want you to win. Like that's the one thing that I will not tolerate around me, is anybody that wants to put some kind of ceiling over you, or anyone that wants to see you do well but not quite as good as them. Like if you've got that attitude, then fuck off. Like you are not around me, because like I want everyone to win. Like everyone around me, I want you to fucking go your hardest, do your best, like be as good as you can be. Because that's one thing, like I can see it in other friend groups, you know, like you see other people and they're like, they really want someone to do well, but they really don't, you know. They're like, oh, I just see he's doing this. I'm like, well, that's the best thing for him. Like, you know, that's he's doing what he needs to do to get whatever it is he's trying to get. Because I think that's like the most toxic thing. If you've got people around you that they really don't want you to succeed, like
I think
deep down.
A lot of it's jealousy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is funny, because like jealousy is like the ultimate form of flattery, really, because like they obviously, you're doing something they want to do, but for whatever reason they don't do it, and then they were like, instead of like building you up, they'll put you down. But that all comes back to just like internal insecurity that they'll have within themselves. But I just look at people like that will try and put you down. I'm like, dude, just pump people up. Like if you pump that person up, they'll come back and pump you up, and it just, life flows so well. And I honestly, like, I think that's how my life flows the way it does, because I'm like constantly
100%, man.
It's like you put out good stuff, and like this is probably one of the biggest things I've found, is like the whole thing, you put out good energy, it comes back. Like I've like, from the time I met you and did that first podcast, I definitely, a big thing I took out of that was like, you want to do something, you've got to just go do it, even if it means by yourself, even if it means getting out of your comfort zone, even if it means going somewhere and like not knowing a single person. But you do that and you quickly find people that you'll become good friends with. Like the guy, I went to Tassie. So I went to Tassie after I met my girlfriend. I met her twice and was just like fully like, I'm hooked. Like this girl just had me straight away. And she's like, there's this like doof in Tassie, you should come to it. Like it's like a 3-day thing. And I was like, yep, done. Like no questions, no ifs and buts. So ended up flying to Tassie, got a lift with another person that I'd met like a week before to this middle of Tassie, to this random like festival. Didn't know a single other person there, like not a single person. Like rock up there. I met her twice beforehand, and I was like, it's kind of a risky move just inviting this random guy to come to a festival for 3 days. Anyway, we had like the best time. I met all these different people, and one of the guys I met was Richard Tebb. He's like, his name's Stoke Wizard on Instagram. And anyway, I met him. And then we just like got along so well. We both had like real high energy, real positive kind of mindset and stuff like that. Anyway, I met him a couple of times, and then he's like, oh man, I live in Derby if you ever want to come there. So now I've been living in Derby for like the last 3 weeks, and like he lives just off like where the trailheads are. And he's like, come back whenever you want. And like, it's like a real solid, good friendship. And I was like, that just started for me going like out of my way to go to a spot where I didn't know a single person. And that puts me in a situation now where I just went and started living with some guy that I met at a doof. And like, that's a solid friendship now. And then like, even come up here, it's like, you put out good energy, it comes back, and it just makes it's like, you're literally rich with people. And I think that's so much more valuable than rich with money. And it's like, as soon as you're rich with people, man, like, it's just like if you think of how much money it would cost to like actually like go and do all the things you're doing that you get done for free, it's like, way outweighs that. So it's like, if you put it into like just being a good person, like shit, it's like the whole idea of like good karma and stuff like that. It's like, you put out good stuff, it's like, it just mirrors itself back onto you. And it's a trip, because sometimes I'll be in like a place and literally like have to pinch myself, be like, how does this keep happening? But then you just got to stop and be like, because you're doing the right things, you're saying the right things, you're being a genuine person, you're being positive, and it just comes back. Like the whole idea when people say like nice guys finish last, it's like, that's bullshit. It's like, if you look at the scale, like if you look at nice guys just might not be, I don't know, this super wealthy person that we perceive success with. It's like, but these guys are living probably a lot more of the actual value in just living life and being around good people and all that. But I guess that in society now, that might not be looked at as like as successful as like a rich guy or something like that. But that's like, if you look at money as being successful and happy, or just like having, like if you said, would you rather have like $1 million or 1 million good friends? It's like, you'd fucking go with the 1 million good friends.
I'd go with the $1 million.
No, you wouldn't.
I don't want 1 million friends. I want 5 good friends.
But what about if you had just like friends all over the world?
Yeah, I do have friends all over the world.
That's what I mean. But it's like, I guess it's the value of like...
Yeah, you don't want too many friends, I reckon.
Where's the limit? Where do you cut it?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I just don't, for me anyway, like, I want to give all of my energy to my friends. Yeah. Like, and I don't want to be like sporadic with it in a way. Like, I mean, I got a lot of friends, but in terms of like inner circle.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, the team of people like around you.
Oh yeah, have a bunch of good friends and be a really good person to all those people. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely, as far as like the team, like an inside circle, I reckon, keep that as kind of small as you can, I reckon. Yeah. But the one thing that you said about like wealthy and being rich, man, I've been thinking about it so fucking much lately. Obviously, like in business, trying to make money. And it's like, I listened to this podcast with this guy called Naval. He's like a super wealthy tech investor, Silicon Valley guy. It's fucking brilliant. I think it's called How to Get Rich. Yeah. Anyway, he talks about wealth creation as opposed to like money creation. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of crazy because this whole, like, we're 4 years into doing the podcast, and it's like things are just finally starting to work, right? Yeah. And when I listen to this podcast, he says like, you want to build wealth, and wealth isn't money. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I kind of have been building wealth. Like, I've been doing a lot of hard work. I've been doing like my best work that I can. I've been putting a lot of stuff out there. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And it's like, that is like wealth generation, you know? Yeah. And I'd look at my life and I'm like, oh, I'm super wealthy. Yeah. I've got like great friends, really good relationships. I've got a business I'm proud of. Yeah. Like, I've got these skills that I invest in with like jiu-jitsu and motocross, and I'm like, I read as much as I can. So it's like, there's a wealth of knowledge. Like, if you start to, and so to backtrack, like, all of this I was doing when I was completely broke, like flat broke. One, like, literally this dollar went into that next podcast to go into that next podcast to go into that next pod. Like, there was no fucking money at any point in the bank, you know? It was just like this constant re-up. But it's like, I thought I was broke. Yeah. And it's like, my I was broke. Yeah. My bank account was broke as fuck. But in terms of wealth, I've been like building wealth. And I think that if you're a person that's listening to this and you're not in the financial position, because money's super important, you know, like you definitely need a certain amount of money to live a certain lifestyle. And the more money that you've got, I guess the more control that you have over the lifestyle that you live. But it's like, if you're listening to this and you aren't in that financial position that you would hope to be in to give you like the level of freedom, it's not going to make you happy. But you can slowly build wealth. You can be broke. You can have no money in your bank account and you can build wealth, you know? And it's like, you may be broke and not wealthy, but it's like, you won't make money tomorrow, but today you could build wealth and you could be wealthier tomorrow. And I think that when I heard that concept, I mean, I guess I was kind of just applying it through working, but it really changed my mindset. And it's made me even not think about the money as much and like really only think about wealth, you know, because if you become this like wealthy person that's like, you know, a wealth of knowledge, and you've got like this healthy body and mind, and then you know, you're putting this energy that you've got as a result of that into this work, and then you're giving opportunities to other people. It's like that is wealth creation. And it's like, fuck, anybody can build wealth.
Like the catch-22 to that is you do that, you'll get money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the money will follow that for sure. And I look at, I look at Sam and Maddie, like they're like my two kind of, and my mate Shane, as like they're the guys that are in my immediate circle that I see and with kind of most days. Yeah. And I just see the same thing in them. Yeah. And it's like the money's followed because they just built this wealth in themselves. They invested in themselves, they invested in other people, they invested their time wisely. Yeah. And then it's like there's this long tail that sort of follows, and then it's like all of a sudden it sort of just catches up, and then you see these guys, they're like starting to make more money, and they're like they're doing what it sort of, you could look at Sam 10 years ago, like Fist is 11 years old. He's fucking working just as hard. He's doing the same. He was probably working harder then. But it's like he was just building this wealth, and like the money didn't come until later on.
It's like we said the other night, it's like it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Oh, yeah.
But even like back to that wealth thing, like how many millionaires, billionaires are sitting in their giant mansions, not wealthy at all.
Not wealthy at all. Rich as fuck and not wealthy.
Yeah. It's just like where you place your values and where you place like people around you. Like that's the whole thing is like the million friends or like the $1 million. I think it's like kind of that concept of like, would you rather be in a shit shack with like 20 good people that you love and care about, and they love and care about you, or a mansion by yourself? Yeah. And it's like you look at those ways and you're like, pretty obvious what the thing is.
And you've only got to travel to a third world country and pull up. Like that's the crazy thing about Vietnam. Anyone that wants to travel when COVID's over and do something dope, go to the Vietnam motorcycle tour. You will just see like the most fucking insane country, like the countryside that's just so remote. There's people that like we ride through places where these kids at like 5-6 years old never seen a Westerner, never seen a white person. They come up and they start touching your skin, they're like tripping out, and it's like they're not rich at all. Like that's like that's the opposite of rich. But you see the wealth in terms of like the happiness and the smiles, and they're all hugging each other constantly, and it's like the kids are dancing and they're running down the road. It's just like, fuck, there's so much more wealth in the world than like money,
I think you really see that as well when you see big families that obviously like struggle a bit because they just say they had like 5 or 6 kids, and obviously that takes a lot of money to do, and then but they're so happy just with each other and themselves, and like they see how wealthy it is to have like a loving, caring family, and not just look at like, oh, we might not have the jet ski or the big Malibu or something because we've got like more kids, so it's like they're wealthy as anything. No, I think that's massive. And I think like you said, you've built this wealth thing of like even just like the amount of people you've met through doing this, and like that in itself is like how many, like when I just met Tom downstairs, and he was just saying like, he's like, oh, like what's your background? He's like, what's your He's like, what's your background? I was like, yeah, I raced downhill or whatever. But I was just like, how many different people come through that door with so many different like backgrounds and everything, and just the wealth of meeting those people that you wouldn't normally meet is huge. And then obviously being able to spread that to people, like the amount of times like I've heard something on your podcast from someone you've interviewed, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, and then you changes your mindset about a certain thing, or like opens up a new idea. And I think that comes back to when we were saying about mentors, and I was like, you literally are just this giant mentor, or like of bringing people on and then like sharing ideas that then can mentor someone to better their lives. And it all comes back to, I guess, like we talk about like education so important, and then obviously mentoring is so important. And you look at someone that's had a good mentor and how quick they can like develop as a person. Like we were talking about Danger Boy Deegan, and listen to that podcast, and I was like, this kid's like, he's onto something, like he's switched on here. And then at the end, when I think I found out he's 15, I was like, what? I was like, I think like I wasn't a bad kid at 15, but I couldn't talk to a camera and be that like, he's just like had good morals and values and stuff. And I'm just like, Jesus, like that's what a 15-year-old kid can be like if he's mentored properly, and he's got like, and he gets put in situations where it's like you've got to kind of grow up, and you've got to learn, you've got to actually like not honestly like struggle but not too badly, and like find your own feet and do all that stuff. And I feel like a lot of people get so babied and so like, and just almost like you're too young to talk to you about this serious topic or issue, so you kind of like, you just sit at the back. But then I'm like, when do you learn that? If they're not talking to you about it, like what's your other outlet? And it's like, if you've got something like a podcast you can listen to, it just like opens up your mind to just these new ideas. And I think do you think like that's one of like the biggest things that like you can bring these different people on and then talk about ideas that then obviously that has such a like a social effect on like especially young people like listening to it would be massive. Because like you think about it, you read however many books and you can pull out like a little bit of knowledge from that and then give it to someone that might never read and they'll be like, oh, that's awesome. It's just like hurries up the learning curve. It's like you've just saved that person however long it takes them to read that book, and there's like what you got out of that can then be put back into like a 3-hour podcast. Oh man, like that's like such valuable information that...
Dude, to go back to the Danger Boy thing too, like think about most kids. I mean, yeah, like most kids are still like 18, 19, 20, 21 still living at home, right?
Yeah.
The fucking average life expectancy back a couple hundred years is like 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you spend half your life living at home. Like we obviously were capable of way more at a way younger age. Like you just have to shift the scale of like a person's life. It's like by the time you're 9, you're getting a fucking job.
Yeah.
Or by the time you're 8, you're doing, because you're going to die at 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole, you just like have to cram everything in. So it's like obviously we're way more capable than what we kind of like teach our kids to be nowadays, you know?
It freaks me out with that as well. Like if he's that, like even he's that skilled on a motorbike, he's that like far ahead with like development, but then next generation, is it 10? Are you 10 years old and you can ride like a 250 like a madman? Or like where, like, cause you know, you just see those kids and you're like, how, like even when you see kids on like 80s and stuff and they're sending like 100-foot gaps and you're just like,
dude, there's kids on 60s
it doesn't
and shit.
I see that and I was like, where does this stop? Like when do you get to the point where like, you're 8, chill. Like you don't get to go hit the triple today. It's like, but do you like stop it? Do you push it? Like
I don't
that's
fucking know. I just can't imagine watching my kids send it like that.
Oh, dude.
You get so like, yeah, I mean that'd be a fucking trip to just go through that process. Like, and imagine like, I just think it's so cool too with the whole Deegan thing. Like they really let people come on the ride with them, you know. Like it's such a unique thing that they're going through, and they're just like so open about it. And I mean, yeah, they're making fucking heaps of cash out of it as well. But it's like, that's not that, they don't need that money. Like that again, that money just comes with what they're doing. It's like, I guess that fucking takes money to make money kind of thing. But it's like, there's just a dope dad that's like living his dream, you know. Like he never got a factory ride. Now his kids got the best factory ride and they've got like this huge audience. And
I think that comes back to, you know, that thing is like, you look at a negative, like him not getting that factory ride could have been like a negative, and now he probably looks at it now as like the positive of seeing his son on that proper ride and like being so involved in all that. And it's like, turn that negative into a positive. Might take however many years it took from when that happened to now, but can switch at any time. But no, it's cool to see, and it's a lot of fucking work as well. Like seeing, like, imagine just having production crew and all that and putting out like content constantly. Like I don't think anyone truly understands how hard it is to put out that amount of content and at that higher quality as well, and constantly like be relevant, be like engaging. Because there'd be days where you'd be doing like your 30-minute motos and stuff and you'd be rinsed, and then it's like, then a camera's in your face like, how was it? And you're like, and you've got to be
hot as fuck, I'm tired, I want to go home.
But then you've got to be
subscribe, like, comment, fuck off.
But you've still got to be on. Like that's I don't think people understand, like when you become an athlete or like a figure in anything, it's like you just don't turn off. And that's the kind of I think the hard part that people don't understand is like for example, like I was in Sydney airport the other day and a guy came up to me that was actually a pilot. I thought it was quite cool, and just like started chatting to me, like knew who I was and started chatting to me. And it's like, there's no time to like put up this wall about like, who are you, or like kind of be like off put. It's like, I'm like,
just gotta be yourself.
Yeah, be myself. But it's like, it just takes like training to be, well, not training, but it just takes time. And like, but once like, cause we were talking about it, like, it's a bit weird because it's like, you even said it, it's like what they perceive of who you are. And it's like, you've just obviously got to be yourself, but it's just so, you've got to, like, it's just like a split second thing to just be on. And I think it's like, obviously the more, I guess, famous you get, the more on you've got to be all the time. Like you can't like slip away from that.
Yeah, well, I think that's like the one thing where I find it real important to just always try to be myself.
Yeah, exactly.
On here. And you know, like I guess there's a point, especially I feel like Supercross Companions is like, that's the most time where I'm being like more of a character. Because I'm just trying to have fun. And it's like, there's a certain like I think we all play certain characters. Like, we're not the same people all the time.
No.
Like me, by myself, in my house, just chilling, reading, like doing housework. I'm just not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
There's no one around.
Yeah.
It's just like as mellow as it could possibly be. And then you go into that sort of situation and you're like, you got to bring the vibe, you got to bring some energy, you got to fill some time. So you end up being something. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, I need to fill a certain role.
Yeah.
Then this is what it comes from. But yeah, for me, I'm just like, fuck, I just try and be myself constantly. So I never have to make that switch of like, hey man, it's just like, this is just fucking me. Hopefully you know what to expect. But it is weird, and it's weird just taking compliments.
I think you just got to adapt to your environment, and that's the thing that, like, you yourself, but you're a different version of yourself in that sense. It's like, kind of just read the room. Like, so many people I know just read the room, like, look around, you know what you've got to be. Like, you're still yourself, but you don't have to be like over the top, like, you can just be this, like, I'm being me, but the chilled version or the real hyper version or whatever it is. But like, I think when people get this idea, it's like, oh man, you change around these people, and I'm like,
well, you kind of got to change at some point,
like when it's in a way, in a good way. Like, I definitely feel that. I feel like that's probably a thing I'm really good at, is I can just kind of blend into, like,
well, you got a camouflage hair.
Yeah.
Like, I got a piss.
I've actually got a piss as well. Yeah.
Tea break.
Oh man. This is so much nicer when you're not stoned and I'm not trying to, like, actually, oh man, I was thinking about, like, as I'm talking, I was like,
this is way better.
This is so much easier. Oh man.
So good. Oh, legs sore.
Oh, how long's that been?
An hour and 11.
Oh, that's not too bad. I think when I was stoned, like, it's a lot more, what's it called? Time gets even more warped.
Goes faster, you reckon?
Yeah. When we did that 4-hour one, I was like,
that was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know what time is anymore. No, I was way too stoned. I was telling Jace when it started, he started talking to me about something, and I fully just was like, and then he, like, went to me for a question, and I was like, yeah, that thing. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, and then he's like, oh, you mean this? I was like, yeah, that. And I was like, fuck. Like, fully saved me, but I was like, I have no clue what we're on about now.
No.
Oh.
The door. Close it. Shoot her. And we're back. Could barely make it an hour before I had a piss then.
Yeah, I was like, I think because I just sculled the Red Bull and then went straight to water.
Hydration is key.
I do feel better though.
I feel way better.
I feel relaxed. How funny is it, like, how bad, like, just say you're at, like, a festival or, like, on a road trip and, like, you need to either take a crap or pee and you're just like you're hot, and then you do it and you're like, oh my god,
your fucking
like,
teeth start floating.
That's when you've got wealth, when you actually, like, hold something in for a long time and you go take a pee.
Yeah.
That is wealth. It's like you can, like, be the happiest person in the world. Oh man, find wealth in that.
That's fucking funny. What else are we gonna talk about?
What are we talking about? Something to do with your, like, the direction you want to go with the podcast, or what direction you think it's going. Because I remember last time we chatted it was quite cool because I remember like it started to pick up this bit of momentum, and now I really feel like that momentum's like really got going. And I want to know, because we're saying like it can kind of, with a job, no matter if it's a good job or a bad job, it can kind of trap you in a certain way of just like being always in the studio, always doing this. But it's almost though you need to have that freedom to go out and then actually like experience something to then like come back, like bring that back. It's almost like you need to go out, get some experience doing something new, and then come back and be able to share that.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. So like the podcast is big in terms of like the numbers. It's like millions of people now, which is fucking ridiculous.
Is it insane just even saying that?
It is, but it's just like...
Because it's been a steady growth of like...
Well, it's more that you just can't even quantify it. Like, again, it's like what we're saying about COVID. Like, you can't fathom those numbers, right?
Yeah.
So if you do like an episode of the podcast and it gets 300,000 listens just online in like a week, right?
Yeah.
Which that's like a Deegan episode.
Yep.
It's like, that is 6 Suncorp stadiums of people.
Yeah.
You can't...
Imagine thinking about that. Like, imagine that being in a stadium that big with that many people, just like a Taylor Swift concert or something like that, and you're sitting in the middle of that.
Yeah, just us two.
Doing this.
Yeah.
And there's just a massive microphone and people are like, ooh, what are they going to say? Like, that's literally...
It'd be the weirdest experience ever.
Yeah.
But so, like, you... yeah, I mean, it's just like you can't really comprehend it. And the weird thing too is that, and I think I've spoken about that before, but like if you're Aerosmith or Metallica and you're like playing Soundwave and there's 100,000 people there, you're the fucking man. You're up on stage, everyone's underneath you, they're looking up at you, you've got the microphone, you can feel that. There's none of that.
Yeah.
You know, like you just do this and you sit in a room, it's the same room you come to every day. It's the most like normal thing ever. So to experience...
Then you fill 3 stadiums.
Yeah, and then it's like you fill 6 fucking stadiums. You know what I mean? And then it's just that you can't really like comprehend. But I think it's a cool thing because you detach from it. Like if I had to, like, let's say that was how it worked, right? So like you go in and the studio is on like a stadium floor, and then every day that you record the podcast, like 60,000 people pile in, and they listen to you. You couldn't help but be affected by that.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
You'd feel fucking weird and different. Like you'd feel the energy, and so that's why I think podcasts are so rad, is because it's just like
it's very personal,
that disconnect.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I've started to think about, which is like, a lot of people that would have a podcast this size wouldn't do the work that I do on the podcast in terms of like I was saying to you, when we sit down and just do it, that's like there's like an art there. It's just like this flow of conversation. It's just like this natural kind of thing that we're doing. We're producing it together, and it's like more artistic. Yeah. And then as soon as you step out from this room and then you go into the editing room, it just becomes like a commodity. Yeah. You're just trying to maximize the earning potential, maximize the people that see it, maximize like the places that it go. So there's like a weird switch that you sort of have to do. And like, you know, you look at as like a Sam Harris or something like that. He gets up, he does his recording, and then he gets up and then he walks out the door. Yeah. And then he goes and does his thing. And then he's got a team of people that do all the editing, they do all the posting, they do like everything. The only hands-on thing he has to do is just the podcast. And then the rest of his time gets spent doing, you know, all of the other things. He's a writer, he does this, he does that. And then, you know, you think of a guy like Rogan, and it's like Rogan comes in, sits down, does his show, fucking leaves. Yeah. Everything gets on the internet, everything gets shared, all the invoicing gets done. So it's like, I think that's just that's probably the thing that I'm thinking of more these days, is just like, I'm so in this room. Yeah. I'm just in this fucking building 7 days a week. Yeah. You know, and I'll get out and I'll ride on the weekend once, and then I'll try and get to jiu-jitsu a couple times a week, and then I'll read my books. Yeah. And it's like, that's it, you know? So, and I wonder, I'm like, fucking hell, like, is that a bad thing because you're just not experiencing that much.
I think it's like you said, it's like a stepping stone to get to that point where you can have that freedom to then obviously go and do everything you want and then just come back.
Yeah.
And like you come in here, you do it, like you have your conversation and then you can peace out and go and have like a new experience and then come back and like have I guess it's just new. It's like you're training to have better conversations by doing more life experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, I climb this mountain and see what that's like with this random Brazilian guy. And then you come back and then you chat to someone who's like, yeah, I was just in Brazil climbing this mountain. And like it adds more to that.
Yeah.
But I think like you say now, it's like, again, it's like you're just at a point where it's like, like the grinding's still happening. But then once that gets to a point, you can just step away and be like, I can have more freedom to actually go and do the things I really want to do, and still this can still sustain itself by having, but that comes back to having like a good team around you that can obviously pick up pick up the slack and then give you the time that you need. Because it's like I said, like going on a holiday to you is like, it's not just a holiday, even if it fully is, even if you leave your phone, camera, everything, and you go on a holiday, that's giving you new experiences, then bring back. Yeah. So it's like, we're lucky in the sense that like just say I go moto riding, that is training for downhill. Yeah. So it's like that. It's like it all links into it. Like I can go for a moto ride somewhere and just have the time of my life, and that is going to have a positive effect then on my racing. So it's like we're lucky that our lifestyles kind of, the better life you have, the better you are at your job. And like I think if you can get a job where like the better, like if just the things you do anyway and you enjoy can then positively affect your job, man, like that's a wealthy lifestyle to have. Doing that.
And I wonder too though, because like I just, for whatever reason, and especially like we're gonna have a lot of different cool content coming out shortly that like we've never really done before, or we've never really shot stuff like this before and edited stuff like this before. Like there's a ton of new shit coming for Gypsy Tales that I think will just like, I think it'll change the brand for people as well. And fuck, I just don't know. I don't even know how much I would be able to step away. Because like I really enjoy, like I don't know why, but I just like making content. Like it's really fun for me. It's like there's a fun game to play with, like what will people like? Hey, can I curate people's tastes? Can I, like that is a pretty fun game in itself. And like I started saying a while ago, I did like a couple of other people's podcasts, and I'd say to people like, it's just a fun project. Like I think about myself in terms of an athlete a lot of times. Like I want to sleep real good. I want to eat real good. I want to like physically train and then, meditate and do these things. Like I'm trying to have like this peak performance because that's almost what like the business dictates, and that's what the podcast dictates. And then you want to be a really good person when you're on this side of the microphone, like interviewing people. And it's like, I feel like I have that athlete mindset towards, like this business sort of deal.
Like dude, before I came in and did this, like I consciously started reading more. And like made sure I slept right. Like it's like it's the same. It's like, this is your race run. But like, and I think for me doing my own podcast a little bit, like I understand like how to make it better because I've kind of like dabbled in that world. So it's like, I know if I read more, like my thoughts just come out better. So it's like, well, I'm about to do a podcast. It's like the same as like, I might go do some downhill runs before my race. It's just like you get that little bit of practice. And like I like, before I do this, I think of like topics and stuff and like things to like actually get it going. So it's like, if you want to make anything better, you've got to put in the work to actually make it as good as you want it to be.
Oh, definitely. And this thing is undeniably good. For people, like it's been fucking good for me. It's been good for the people that have come on the show. It's good for the people that listen to the show. It seems like it's been good for the industry in some ways. So it's like, for me anyway, like I've just got to this point where it's like, fuck, this is good. Like I got to do my best at this thing because it is good and does good.
The flow-on effect is really positive.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like it's cool to be able to get up every day and work on something that feels like super important. And it feels like it's a weird thing too, to like almost feel like a bit of a slave to it in a way. Like I just feel like I have a responsibility to keep doing this,
But
which
that-
is weird.
I think I get what you mean, but that's where you've got to come in and just find that balance. Like and even like I was saying, like I'm always like, come down to my place. There's plenty of content you can shoot. Like I love when you'd go away and do those like vlog series things where you'd actually go experience something else, and then you've got all this cool content, and then you can do a podcast about that content you've just produced. And I feel like that's like,
Do you have a problem with that?
what's that?
Just don't make any money.
True.
It's fucking dude. So after,
But wouldn't you push like heaps of numbers on YouTube if you put out heaps of content in that sense?
Nah, well, I mean, I think over time it will
Yeah.
get like that. But so
But then you've got to put down the value of the money over the experience as well.
yeah, but so the problem is I'm not in a place. I'm not in a place where I can fuck with money. Like money still has to be like a real central focus.
Yeah.
Because it's just risky still, you know.
Yeah.
And like so when we did Manji,
Yeah.
May was our biggest month ever. Nearly did 1 million downloads in 1 month.
Yeah.
Just on iTunes. And then it was like 3 point something on YouTube, eh? And so it's like, that's like 4 million downloads. 30 days. Like fucking retarded. And I was like, king of the world. We're killing it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking done. This is it. Rocket's finally taken off.
Yeah.
Then I was like, now we got this Manji trip. It's going to be insane. We're going to drop the vlogs. Literally lost money in May. In June.
Because
I was like, what the fuck? We just didn't put out the same amount of videos. It was like really hard to be on the road. It was just like the organization, the processes that we kind of put in place just took like this massive hit. And then, dude, it wasn't until, so what was last month? October?
Yeah.
No, so September. So September was our second biggest month ever. So from June, July, August.
Yeah.
So those 3 months, terrible.
You had to build back up again.
It hurt. Like hurt. And literally just lost money. It was like, I think for one, I can't remember, it was like maybe July, I lost $1,500 like overall. And you're just like, what the fuck? How does that happen from having like your biggest and best month ever? So it's like, I do want to get to that point where we're just like constantly.
And how do you think you'd like more people working for you to kind of pick up the bit?
We just need more people.
So you just need an investor.
Dude, Rone's like, honestly, Rone's hasn't had days off.
He doesn't leave the studio.
No, seriously, he's been here pretty much since he left school last year.
You probably should take that chain off his ankle. I
know. Fuck it. I'll extend it.
I'll extend the chain.
But yeah,
gotta reach the bathroom.
He's had like 2 days off in a fucking year or something. You
True.
know? And no, we're both just fucking
just going.
just pinned trying to do it. So, but yeah, it's all just a process, and you just go through it. But and I don't know too. I think like I always think that you always miss the times, like once it gets good and you know what I mean, like everything's just on autopilot. But then I don't know, maybe you just find out other shit to do. But like,
I think you can always keep yourself busy. Like there's always something else you can do, but I think it's like you've got to like consciously make a stand to be like, because you like this can grow as fast as like or as big as you want it to grow kind of thing. So it's like, even if
you only grow as slow as you go.
Yeah, exactly. So you could get to that point where you're like, I could take a holiday and go and experience this new thing, but I could get more. Like it's always that more thing. So I think you've just got to, I guess, have a target that, okay, I can be content with this and I can go on my holiday, and we might take a bit of a hit, if any, if you've got enough people.
You just want to feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, like that nothing's at like it's not a risk.
Yeah.
To like really go and do, like, because now I'm scared to do another Manji, which is crazy because it was so good.
Yeah, that sucks though, because it's like, you enjoyed that so much.
Oh, it was the best week, man. Like, or 2 weeks. It was honestly the best, but it's fucking scary to do it because it's like, eesh, I don't know if I want to fucking go through that again. Like, you literally, for one trip, it took 3 months of just sucking to get shit.
Could you just like smash out like a heap of podcasts and then have someone else in studio here that just releases them as you're still on the road? So that would be like
But then you just got to have the money in the bank to pay the person. So it's all doable. It's not. Hopefully, no one listening is like thinks I'm doing a poor me. It's just this. We never talk about this sort of stuff ever. Like I never really talk about the business side of things, so maybe people find it interesting.
But I think it'd be interesting for people that are like, like why don't you put out podcasts when you're on the road or stuff, or why is there like breaks or whatnot? But it's like,
but even down to shit like computers, where do you charge your laptop when you're driving? Like, so for Manji, we bought, I guess spent $150 on like this inverter, so that we could charge the laptops in the thing, and then they wouldn't charge the laptops, and then you spend 4 days on the fucking Nullarbor, and you planned on being able to edit, and then you couldn't edit, and then like you get it's just,
you know what the funny thing is, the same people that would complain about not having a podcast that week because you're on tour or whatever, but then if you're on tour and you put out one, they'd be like, oh, the production wasn't very good on that one, and it's just like, it's like, oh, and there would be the same person that would complain about not having it would also complain about it not being to the standard of the studio, and you're just
I will say though, I feel very lucky in the way that people don't seem to do that.
Like you've got a solid group of people.
Yeah, we have a fucking solid gang. Like the Gypsy gang is like actually a legit thing. And there's people that like really don't give me heat. And I think we haven't done a podcast for like 2 weeks just because of all the, like we shot the Ducati thing, and then, but with all the rain that we had, like, so we had this track days booked and we were doing all this prep work, and then it rained, so then we cancelled it. And then we didn't have time to get any more guests in the studio. So then you just fucking sitting on your hands like, shit, all right, well, that week's gone. And then the next week you got to redo the shoot, and then the next week we did the Husky thing. So it's just like, it's such a crazy like balance to find. And I think I had like one comment of a dude said like, but it was just a nice comment, like, hey man, I need another podcast. And it's like, that's not bad,
I'm itching for it.
I can handle that. There's no one's out there being dicks, but
just throw our own grin at them. Here you go.
Yeah, fucking have these
guys.
Have some scraps. Here's the greatest mountain biker of all time. Fuck, I was stoked on that podcast.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet because I've been hanging out with you and hear your voice enough as it is. But yeah, the little snippet you showed me, I was just like, even just how like I've been racing Gwyn for like close to 10 years now, and he's a super quiet guy, and even just how he was opened up to you in the small snippet I saw, I was like, that was like a different kind of the Gwyn that I saw. And like I said to you, it's like the whole, because he was a closed book, you write your own story about him, and it's just like everyone's kind of written their own story about him, and it's like when you are quiet, that's like people have got to come up with an opinion of you, and it's like if you don't give them much to work with, they're going to kind of make their own up, which is shit. Like it is shit, but like we all do it. So it's like, I think it's like if you can be so open about who you are and like what you're about, it just kind of, but then people twist that as well. But I think if you're genuinely put out your like self, and then that's what people receive, I'm like, well, that's me. So it's like, I guess he just, and like he even talks, well, that little bit you showed me, it's like he was just so nervous about performing at that level that he'd built himself up to, that he was just kind of shut off because of that. And like we've all got our like triggers and we've all got our routines and stuff. So his routine was just the quiet guy kind of thing. And same with like Sam was the quiet guy, and it's just like, it's just how he is. And like you can't hate on someone for being themselves, even if their self doesn't line up
with how you want them to be. That's the thing, is like you get like expectations of people. Like you want them to be a certain way. Like for me, I think about James Stewart, and I'm like, I wish you were like the dude that just took the sport to the stratosphere. Like you could have been that guy. You could have put Supercross on your back and just made it fucking huge. But it's like he just didn't want to be that guy. And it's like, that is fine.
Exactly.
But I wanted him to be something different, and a lot of other people wanted him to be something different. So I think, like you put these expectations on people, like especially when you just see greatness too, you know, it's just like, that's not fair to tell somebody that just because they can be great, they have to be great in the way that you want them to be. Because
I think it's like, imagine, I always tell people like, imagine how many people out there have an opinion of who you are. Like imagine how many Jaces are out there in so many different people's heads. And then imagine trying to then fulfill that. And like, who do you pick? Do you pick one guy? Cause like, oh, I think you're this. Oh, maybe you're trying. Like that's the whole idea, is like, if you be yourself, it's easy because you don't have to fill all these different like expectations for everyone.
And that's why you tell the truth. As well, you know, like, because as soon as you lie about something, you're creating like this whole nother parallel universe that's just a tiny bit detached from reality, and then you've got to like keep track of that parallel universe which doesn't really exist.
And that's hard.
Fucking
that is
it is,
work, man. Like that is, I couldn't even imagine like lying to like multiple people, and then you've got to live in these different lies, and it's just like, man, that's just brain power. Like I struggle to keep up with like normal life, let alone if I started lying to people.
Yeah, it's fucking so much more important of a thing. That's like a moral flag to put in the ground.
Yeah.
You know, because there's fucking serious implications of that.
Once
shit,
you're a liar, man, you're a liar, and then it's just like, why would I believe anything you say? It's like, it's hard to come back if you lie to someone, especially like a big lie, and then they like, how do you trust that person after that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fucking gnarly. So that whole, I think it makes it a lot easier to be yourself.
Yeah.
When you're being like honest in terms of even just the way that you're acting, you know what I mean?
And honesty as well, even if like, because a lot of the time people tell lies to save people from getting hurt, where it's like, you're not saving them from...
That's the lies I've told.
Yeah, but you're not saving them from getting hurt, you're just prolonging it. And then it's going to get worse. It's like, you've as soon as you lie to them, you've got to carry that around with you, and then they'll eventually find it. Like everyone finds out about everything.
And I think that... there's like this, you're almost, it sort of stems from like, you don't feel like you can be yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why you kind of will say something to somebody to protect the way that they feel.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel okay being the way that you kind of want to be, you know?
Yeah.
It's a fucking weird dichotomy.
I think I kind of changed that with myself this year. Like a lot of the stuff I did, and it's like, I hope I made people uncomfortable. And I hope I made people question themselves and what they could do. Like, this is funny. I remember Mick Hanna came up to me at a World Cup. When I think
opposite of leopard hair.
The opposite. He came up to me when I had some crazy haircut or something. And he said to me like, oh, I love what you're doing. He's like, oh, I wish I could do that. I'm just a bit shy. Yeah. But it was like kind of cool. And I kind of like looked at him, I was like, dude, you can do that.
Yeah.
Like, why not? And it's like that whole idea, you tell yourself I'm shy.
Again, it's a story.
Yeah, exactly. And then you convince yourself of you're shy, and then eventually
and then you live like you're
that's
shy.
Your narrative. Yeah. If you believe in something different and kind of like fake it till you make it. Like, dude, honestly, when I went to Leo Gang, the first race of the World Cups, and I had like pink hair and everything, like I felt a bit like, fuck, like
I'm a kook.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, yeah, like a lot of eyes on you, and like I hadn't raced a World Cup in like over a year, so it was like I feel like I added a bit more pressure
to yourself
on top of pressure, and it was like, it did honestly affect me a little bit, especially like, I think just the big, like the gap between when I had raced, and I was like the first day of practice, man, I was nervous. Like I had not been that level of nervous in a long time. And this is coming off end of 2019 where I felt like the man, like it's like I was in this good zone. I was riding well. It was just like,
well, you took a year off, man, in like the prime of your career. Like that's kind of gnarly.
So coming back, I was like, ooh, like even just like, and it was actually like, it was like the real tricky conditions where it's like that real greasy, slippery stuff. And then I ended up crashing my quali run, which was a bit... I actually got red flagged. Charlie Harrison crashed in front of me, broke his arm, unfortunately. I got red flagged, went back up, and then crashed, just hit a root and washed out. And then it kind of compounded as well, like, oh shit, now I didn't qualify, and now people look... it was a lot. I didn't enjoy that race at all. And that kind of, I guess, kind of set that season, like the tone for the rest of that season. Even though it was funny at the next World Cup, then it rained and it went my way, and then I got sick. So it was like it can go either way. But it was just kind of the start of season off after not racing for a year, and then coming back and crashing and not qualifying. And then I went to Leger, and for that qualifying run, honestly, worst probably feeling or run or anything that I've probably ever done at a World Cup. I was so nervous. I put all this pressure on myself because I was like, I didn't qualify at Leo Gang, and then I went there, and dude, I was just like, I just felt sick. Like I just didn't want to be there, and I was like, I don't want to do this if this is the feeling that it produces in me. And I qualified like 40th or something, and I was not in it. Hey, I was like probably the worst head games I've ever played with myself. Like I just got to the bottom of that run, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like what is happening? And I feel like I figured a few things out. Like it was just like a bit of a learning curve again. Like it was literally like you have a year off anything. I guess like fighters call it like ring rust and stuff like that. It's just like trying to get back up to speed and get comfortable. And I felt like every time I'd start to get comfortable, they'd have like something else that would come up. Like I went to like Slovenia, like went to Maribor, and I started to feel comfortable, and then had a massive crash, and then it's like you kind of got to rebuild yourself up again. And I felt like that was like the kind of tone to the whole year. I'd like get a bit more confident, and then something bad would happen. And then towards the end of the year, because I was on an XL Gambler, and I couldn't push the edge like I used to, and I was like, what's going on? Like every time I try and push the edge, I just feel like I'm going to crash. Anyway, I finally decided after World Champs, because I was just like, this isn't working. Like something's up right now. Like I need to, like, you know when you're like, something's broken. I need to change something. So after World Champs, that night after World Champs, I went to like Marshy, my mechanic, and I was like, we need to try something new. So I was like, can we just go back to a large frame and just see how it feels? So literally just did World Champs. Instead of going to like go to the after party, I was like helping Marshy like change out parts, and we built up a large gambler. And then the next day, this was after 4 days of riding Valdesol, I went back up the next day on the large and changed a few bits and pieces. And I was like, it felt a bit weird from like the jump back. And we ended up putting a longer rear end on it to make me feel more central on the bike. But after about maybe 3 or 4 runs, I was like, okay, I think this is better. Then had a little bit of a break and went to Lenzerheide, and I rode it, and I was like, man, what was I doing? Like, it was just like so much more comfortable. I could like throw it around more, and it was just like, it's almost like I've just wasted the start of this season being on a bike that didn't fit me. But you know, it's like that whole thing you kind of, because I honestly, on the extra large, you feel more comfortable, but I couldn't push it the same way. And when I'd be a bit fatigued, it's like just more bike to try and handle and control. So I went to the large, went to Lenzerheide, and I got a flat in my my quali run, and I think I got like 58, so top 60 getting in. So I just got in, which was kind of like, but I think I was like 10th at the splits or something. So I'm like, yeah, we're back. Like we've got the speed happening again. And it was like this, like, because for a while there, man, during the middle of the season, I was like, I can't hang with these top guys. Like I'm just not there. And then you start to play you tell yourself the story about like I'm not good enough and all this stuff. And then after that, just seeing that 10th in like the 3rd split or something, I was like, no, we've still got the speed. And then for racing, unfortunately, I kind of got caught in a rainstorm. So it literally just rained for like, it was pretty shit. It rained for like the first few guys and then a little bit in the middle. So wasn't terrible. I got 20th, but I know like I could have done better if it obviously didn't rain. But just got like the motivation to be like, okay, like we belong. I can hang with these guys, because once like the big thing that separates the top guys from like top 5 from top 20 is the belief that you can win.
Yeah.
It's 100% the belief, because it's like, how often we always talk about, as soon as you start doing well, you keep doing well. And it's just like you have that belief that I can, and it's like, well, why don't you always believe that? And it's like, man, it takes a lot to believe you can be the best in the world or something. And as soon as you have that idea drop out of your head, it takes a lot to build it back up. And I felt like that's every time I'd kind of, it's like 3 steps forward, 10 steps back, and it just kept happening like that. I was like, I'd get confident and then back, and then get confident and then back, and then I finally felt like I was in a good zone. I went to Snowshoe for the last race, and then ended up just like axing myself like day one, and I'm just like, again, like we finally were like in this good place, riding good, and just had a stupid crash, like just honestly just a brain fart, and had a big crash. I compressed the part of my spine, and like it bruised around, I think it was my T12 or something in my back. So crashed on the first day of practice, sat out the rest of the day. I didn't think I was going to race. I thought it was over. Like I could barely walk. It was so painful. And then the next day, I was like, I might as well try. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So anyway, I like first run, rode probably 200 meters down the track. Back's like, it's like this sharp. Imagine you got like a knife and you're like jabbing it in, like, you know, that real harsh, like lower back bruise pain. And I was like, what am I doing? Like should not be here. So right, like 200 meters stop, and I'm just like in my helmet. I was like, what are you doing? Like give up kind of thing. And then kept going down, and I did loosen up, like just using that like small amount, and then going again, still sore, but kept going, did some jumps that were kind of smooth. And then I think obviously everyone knew that I had the big crash and didn't think I was going to ride. So then every time I would like go past like a group of people, I'd just get like a good solid cheer. It's like, yeah, Dean, and stuff like that, like more so than normal. And honestly, man, pumped me up, changed my whole mindset. And then it just kept happening the whole way down the track. And then by the time I got to the bottom, man, I reckon like probably 30 something people from like the side of the track, whether it was riders or spectators, like cheered me on. And it was like that feeling of like how supportive that community is of people. Like even your biggest competitors will cheer you on when like you're in that state. Like so motivating. And honestly, I needed that then. Like I really like I was not in a good way. And anyway, as the day went on, I did another run, and like your back, obviously I freed up a little bit still. Like every time I'd hit like a big compression, it's just like you have that, like you like almost brace for it. So you're like, ugh, it's like, so did my quali run, ended up qualifying, which I was just like I was honestly shocked. But I know when I went in the quali run, as soon as you're in that zone, you kind of block out pain and you can kind of get into it. So qualified and then ended up racing, and actually I qualified and then went straight to the hospital, got a CAT scan, and like made sure. That's when I found out it was bruised and what was happening. They're like, look, it's going to be painful, but it's not probably going to get worse. You can ride. So I was like, okay, we're all clear. Let's do it. And then raced. Didn't do. I think I got 27th or something, which wasn't too bad. Nothing great. And then they had the next race straight after it. And then again, I started to like feel my mojo again. Got it all happening. And then in qualifying, I had another big crash and then just jammed my shoulder into the rock. And I was just like, oh, but it was good. Just before it had happened, like I felt like I was back in that, like getting in the flow state, riding really well. And I think I was like 9th or something like before it happened. So I was like, it was a bit of a positive out of it, but it was just like, it just seemed like that was the narrative this season. It's like you start to find your feet, you start to get momentum, crash, injury, not quite like something like that. And it was just, that was the frustrating thing. It was like, I'd start to get it back and then it would reset. Anyway, I thought, because obviously I couldn't race, and I was like, oh man, this is probably going to be a shitty day tomorrow, like just spectating. Anyway, I decided, I was like, I've got nothing else to do. I'm just going to walk the track. So I started walking down the track as like the women started. And as I walked down, it was just like a few people like recognized me and like started chatting to them. And it was honestly turned into this, it was hectic how many, like Americans are such big super fans, especially there. Like everyone knows you, everyone knows your story. And it was insane, man. Like I've never felt so well known and welcomed, and just people just so stoked to see me. So I'm like walking down this track, which I thought would just be like, I didn't think like I might get a hey Dean a few times. Like literally everyone I went past, people offering me beers, getting photos. Like I feel like a rock star. And I was like, this is insane. And it like, again, lifted me up. And I honestly it made me love racing again for like being so invested in the fans
just
and
the sport itself and the whole community of it,
and seeing how much they loved it. And honestly, I needed that, man. At that point where it's like you're on a bit of a low from an injury or something, I got to the bottom and I'd like probably stopped 50 times, chatted with people, got beers, like just hung out with people, got photos, like, because I had all the time in the world, so I'd sit down and just chat with people for ages.
Yeah, you didn't have to go anywhere.
Nah, and everyone's so friendly. They know like your bit of your backstory. They love what you're doing. Like, they had this group of guys just like, oh man, it was so good. Like said, they listened to the podcast and stuff, like all about it. I got to the bottom of that run, man, and I was like at the bottom of the track, and I was so hyped. And it's just like, again, the whole thing where people think you're going to be bummed out because, oh, you're injured and you got to watch the race. And I get down there and I'm just like, dude, this is insane. Like these people are so cool, and just being in that sport. And I guess that's when you go to like events and stuff, and you probably get that. It's like how many people you actually, if like that was.
Manji was crazy for that.
That's when it becomes real. Like that's the first time, because even when I'm racing, it's like, you don't see that as much.
You're like between the tape.
Yeah, exactly. And your mindset's got to be so focused on the race that you don't actually like expand to like how cool, like, yeah, you interact with the fans, but you don't have the time. Like that's the thing. It's like you practice, you recover, like you're
like in it.
You're in your job kind of thing. It's like if someone kind of came in now and they're like, hey Jace, you kind of like, you're like,
okay, cool, see ya.
Yeah, hey man, I'm doing a podcast kind of thing. Like you're so invested in that. So to have that time and then use it to like be so invested with the crowd and everyone, I was like, I love this sport. Like this is so, and honestly, it did motivate me to like be like, okay, because I remember when I said like I wasn't sure if I wanted to kind of keep doing it and all that. That really gave me a new love for it, to be like, this is such a cool environment of people that actually follow us, and like the effect that you can have, because you don't know the effect until someone kind of comes up to you in person and goes, hey man, love what you're saying, love what you're doing, love your attitude, like give me a hug, and then just like and then just cruise off, and you're like, that was real. Like that was a real experience with a real person. And like you can't, like likes on Instagram or comments on Instagram or like all that, it just doesn't really feel real. Yeah. But when someone comes up to you in person, and like I had one guy come up to me and like was pretty much in tears, and he's like, you helped me so much through COVID, which I'm sure you've done the same with people as well. But like having someone crying and giving you a hug, it's like, holy shit, like it's like you can have that much of a positive effect on someone that lives in West Virginia in America. Yeah. And I'm just a kid from Bright that rides a bike well and just talks some shit now and again. So I'm like, that was super cool.
Yeah, dude, that is insane. I want to go back to before. I don't want to give you advice as an athlete. I'll just give you advice as a friend. When you said that like you're so nervous and sitting in the start line, so for me anyway, like I get so nervous for jiu-jitsu competitions. Like it's just a fucking very scary, challenging, like confronting experience because you're just about to go fight someone.
Yeah.
You're not punching and shit, but like he's literally trying to rip your fucking arms off.
Yeah.
And like I would
Get it?
fuck that swag last night. Did you like Dino's setup last night? Ryan's got PTSD. Straight up the fucking swag.
You're gonna come in tonight, have a little campfire set up, we got some marshmallows.
Like, we should fucking get a camp stove, go and make some coffees in the morning in there.
the Gypsy life.
Fuck. Yeah, so I just get like insanely nervous, and there was one day. There was one comp, I can't remember where it was. I was just fucking cooked. And mind you, I hadn't lost a match in like a couple years. So like, and I was still getting this nervous. And I was just like, I was over it. I literally was just sick of it. And I'm sitting there so nervous. And I was like, all right, dude, you're either going to do it or you're not. Are you going to do it? Yes, I will do this match. Okay. Why the fuck are you torturing yourself then? If you're going to do this and you're going to slap hands and then you're going to just start doing jiu-jitsu, then don't fucking torture yourself for the days, weeks, months leading up to it. Just fucking do it. Either do it or don't do it. And like, so I had like this ruthless conversation with myself. And then after that, like from then on, like I was still nervous, but it wasn't like, I would feel sick, like exactly what you said. Like the nerves were just so crippling. Like it was just such a heavy experience. And I remember the last I did the state titles last year, and it was before the final. I was fucking so chilling, dude. Yeah, I saw a guy and I was talking to him, and then I was like, all right, man, cool. Like I'll do my thing. Just sat there, no music. I was just stretching and just went. Any voice I got in my head that wasn't in line with like doing this thing that I was about to do, just clip it from the program, because it's just like you're either gonna do it or you're not. And if you're gonna do it, don't torture yourself on the lead up to it. You know, like at some point those fucking beeps are gonna go off and you're gonna push forward and pedal down the hill, and then you're in it. You know, so it's like that to me. I don't know if that resonates or helps, but like that fucking helped me so much, to just be like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And like I never really got that nervous for motocross races, just probably because I wasn't that good, and I wasn't ever in the hunt to win. Whereas I think with jiu-jitsu, like because I can win the competitions, like feels like there's more pressure maybe.
Yeah, builds it up more.
Yeah, but like even when I went to Manji, not nervous at all. Just drove for 4 days. I was just sitting on the line chilling. I was like, I'm not going to deal with these fucking nerves. Because when the gate drops, I'm gonna go ride. So who gives a fuck?
You can't you're trying to control what hasn't even happened yet. Are we trying to like worry about something that's like?
Well, you're sort of in this mindset of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This is gonna, like, you're talking yourself out of something that you're eventually gonna do.
My dad gave me a really good analogy, which I use all the time now. But he used to be like a rigger, like on buildings and welder and whatnot. And he would say like he'd walk along these beams like 50 feet up in the air, and he said people wouldn't do it. Like people would be shit scared of it. And it's because it's like they look at either side of the beam. They don't look at, if you look at the beam and you walk across it, you can walk straight across it. If you look at the fall, you're going to fall, or you're going to worry about the fall, and then it's going to freak you out and you're not going to be able to do it. So like I think I always say, me and my girlfriend always say it now, because we're not looking at, if we say like we're stressing out, it's like we're not looking at the beam. So I was like, as soon as you start to freak out, just look at the beam, look at that race run, look at the person you're going to fight in jiu-jitsu. And it's like, if you're looking at that, that's your focus. Everyone looks at the fall instead of what they actually need to do. And that's where I think, like, that's what I was doing. I got so worried about not qualifying at Leger because I'd just gone.
You were looking at the fall.
I was looking at the fall. I was looking at not qualifying. I was looking at what had just happened at Leo Gang. And it got so into my head that I was just worried about letting people down. I started putting their expectations on me, and it was just a slippery slope. And I just remember after that, I was like, I'm not going back into that shit because I don't even want to do it. And then I did change my mindset about being more just like, look at the beam, look at what I need to do, and then doing it. Because even, it was funny because before Leo Gang, I did a post which a lot of people seem to get around, but it was like changing your mindset from a result-based mindset to like an experience-based mindset. So just the experience of being over there and being able to do what I was doing and enjoying the process of it is such a win. That's like the result is just the cherry on top. So it's like you look at the whole experience of racing a World Cup or producing a podcast or whatever, like that's all a win up until the point. It's like, just say, again, like what we're doing now, I would say is a good experience, but just say you put this online and just no one listened to it, and then you looked at this whole thing as a negative. It's like, what? Yeah. So I posted that, and a lot of people got behind it. It was like the whole thing, just drop the ego, do it because you love it and enjoy it. And then I didn't qualify at Leo Gang, and I remember it was funny because I if I'm pissed off, I put myself away from the group of people, because I never want to bring people down because of something that I experienced. So I got down from quali and I just rode up. There's like a little bike track next to the event. Rode up and just kind of laid on the grass for 20 minutes, like going over it in my head, trying to get out all the negativity and everything. And I'd feel a bit positive, and then I'd just think about certain things and everything, and I'd get real negative again. And then I was there for about 20 minutes just laying on the grass. And then eventually I thought about that post that I'd just written like a couple of days before, and I was like, shit, man, you got to start practicing what you preach now. And I just put a smile on my face, and I went back to my tent, and everyone's bummed, and I was like, it's all good, shit happens kind of thing. But it's just like, you got to keep yourself accountable. Like, you got to practice what you preach. You can't just preach that and then just go be the negative guy. And I think if you do stuff and put stuff out like that, you've got to live up to it. You can't say something and then do the other thing. But like, I'm not always positive. Like I cracked the shits, but I went off and cracked the shits on my own time. Because I hate when you see someone has a bad time and then they think they have the right to bring everyone else down. And I was like, why does your shitty time have to bring me down?
I could not agree
And it's
more.
just like, sort your shit out and come back and see me when you're happy, but don't come here and start whinging about shit that I had nothing to do with. It's like, yeah, friends can help friends out, but don't just whinge about it. Like, how can we fix this? Like, look at the things that we can do to make this better. Like, I think it's like you talk about stressing out or worrying. I think if it's like, you've literally just got to problem solve. It's like, what are you worrying about? And then make a list of that and go, well, I'm worrying about, because it's like, if you're prepared for something and you've ticked all your boxes, that's where you get your confidence from. So if you're worried about, but I didn't train hard enough, it's like, well, you've got to train harder.
Yeah.
Or if like you're worried about, I didn't sleep properly, it's like, well, you got to sleep properly. Like, write the things down that you worry about and then work out ways to fix that, instead of just being like stressed about it and then not taking any action to fix it.
And then in the moment, you can't let it stress you out in the moment, because it's too late.
It's too late. You're there.
That's the other thing that I think about too with like the jiu-jitsu stuff, is like, it's too late. I don't know. I can't learn any more techniques. I can't. Like, what I'm bringing to this match is what I'm bringing to this match. And if this dude's fucking better than me, this dude's better than me. Like, there's a certain point too where like worrying about something in the moment that's about to go down, waste of time.
It's only going to affect you in a negative way. It's like the whole thing, run what you brung. And it's like, this is all you brung. Better be ready to run it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no point stressing at that point. It's like, cards are on the table.
Yeah. You've got a hand of cards.
Yeah.
Like, when you get to the top of a start, in the start box, you've got a hand of cards.
Yeah.
Everyone else on the hill's got another hand of cards, and then you just got to play your cards. And you can just try and play them right.
And you can stack the deck in your favor. That's what
preparation is.
Yeah, that's what people that are winning, they've just stacked the deck in their favor. But they've done that. That's all like, that's getting up early, that's training harder, that's sleeping right, and like that all takes time and effort. But you do it, man. Because like, I love when I've gone to races knowing that I've done like when I said I went to in the start of 2018 when I qualified second and got third, like I remember rocking up and just being so confident and comfortable. I remember there was like a triple, this like random little sketchy rock triple, and normally first run you kind of like scope out everything and like you're not really warm or anything. Anyway, it was like quite a sketchy jump, and I remember coming into it and there was just all these bikes piled up to look at it because it was sketchy, and normally I'd stop and look at it as well. And I came in, I saw these bikes stop, and I was like, I'm just gonna hit it, and just sent it first lap, and I was like the first guy to do it. And just from that point, I was just like, my confidence just kept building and building and building, and like just that little bit, it will just build in the right direction. So it's like, if you can come in, but I just knew I was confident because like I'd
done all this.
I'd done all the work, man. It's like you can't do everything right. And like, yeah, obviously things can go wrong still, but it's hard for things to go wrong when you do everything right. Yeah. It's like you tick all the boxes that need ticking, you're going to probably get a good result on that test. And that was like the whole thing. It's just like, I went there confident, feeling good, rode well. And like, it was all so easy. And it's like, if you do everything right, life becomes so easy. You see like, and again, it's not that hard if you know what to do. Like that's the thing now, is like, I know what I need to do. Like I just need to repeat that's like, you just got, it's hard to commit to it, and it's hard to stay, I guess, motivated in it. And then for like, again, like I said, it's kind of isolating, and like, you've got to give up a lot of stuff. But if you can do that, like the process to actually do it, it's just, you just need to get up and do it every day.
Yeah.
But that takes a lot to do. But the actual processes are like, they're all out there. Like, I'm sure when you talk to Gwyn and stuff, like, like a lot of top guys are very open about what they do. Like
there's not like they're trying to keep it a secret because they know how hard it is to actually do the thing that they say.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what you said. You said a good thing last night when you were talking about kids that come up to you and say like, oh, how are you so fast? And then you say to them, well, how do you think I'm so fast?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you exactly what you do to be so fast. It's like, well, just go, go do all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny when they literally write a list of things where they're like, oh, you'd probably train really like hard. You'd probably eat well. You'd probably like do all these things. And I was like, all right, go do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what
I do.
And
it's like, they're like shocked by that. Like, oh, it's like, see, you don't need me to tell you. You just need to like, I think what are they called? I think there's like a name for them when you associate like, just say like, you like think of like what a mother would be like, and you'd be like caring and loving, and there's like a certain name for what like those are.
Yeah.
So I think with an athlete, it's just like anyone knows, like any kind of athlete would, it's all super similar. You just have this like, there's be a few like differences, but on the whole, it's like, you want to be a good athlete, it's writing's on the wall. You just need to follow it. And like we said, if you're a good person, you're probably a good athlete as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, just be a good person, and that'll probably flow into being a good athlete.
Yeah, and the accountability thing's huge. And I think that I think I've talked about it on here before, but I think that my life got better because of this podcast, because I just took very seriously doing what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And it becomes... and then you see the results of that, and then it's like, well, we're going to go to Manjimup. All right, well, we're going to go to Manjimup. Like, that's not easy to do that. Like, that's a lot of driving. Essentially, we took 2 weeks to have 1 weekend of racing. And, you know, like, when you're rolling out your swag and it's fucking freezing, and then when you wake up in the morning and there's ice on the top of your swag, and then you got to roll it up, and then you got no breakfast, and you fucking, everyone stinks, and you're in the van. Like, it's not fucking easy to do, but it's like you say you're going to do something, and then you hold yourself accountable. And I think that if you can, if you're like a person that like your life's not going the way that you kind of want it to go, it's like, take some big chunk of accountability. Yeah. Like, what's a thing that you know, like, I'm going to run a half marathon, and then you book it in, and then you put it all over your social media, and you tell a bunch of people you're going to do it, and then you put a bunch of little safe checks in along the way to make sure that you can't do it, tie a fucking charity. Like, anyone can be like anything, and it's like, you don't, like, you could go right now and go like, I'm super out of shape, I'm going to run a half marathon, I'm going to donate money to charity, I'm going to fucking do all this shit. If you make $80 and give it to charity and no one knows, and it's not like, that's still a good thing, you know. Like, I think people get deterred by like, you see so many people that are doing these amazing things all around you, and you see the level of attention that people get or whatever, and like, if you're not getting that level of attention for your pursuit or your you know, the thing that you're trying to be accountable for, then it's like, it's off-putting in a way. But it's like, man, just do the work when no one's looking. Hold yourself accountable. You know, throw it out there to some people that you care about. Like, like fucking giving away that 125. It's like, I've told my friends now. Yeah, you got to do it. I got to fucking do it. Like, that's been in my head for a while. And then I was at dinner with Maddie, and Maddie's like, you got to give you just give it away, dude. And then I was like, fuck, all right, I will give it away.
That's
and
a
then
big step.
Yeah, but it's accountability. You know, and then you got these people around. There's people around me that will fucking hold. They're like, hey, you said you were gonna give our fucking bike away. It's like, all right, you got to do it. You know, so like, the more chunks that, you know, like, just take these chunks of accountability in like your personal life. That's what signing up to a competition is. You know, like, I don't enjoy competing in jiu-jitsu at all. Like, it's not a very fun experience. Like, it's way more fun to just like roll in the gym with guys that you know and trust. But it's like the accountability that comes along with having a deadline of a match looming over you, and then you've got to make this specific weight. Like, there's all these different checks that you've got to be accountable for. And then what happens is, like, let's say you got a month, then you fucking spend that month highly accountable to that goal.
Yeah.
And then you get through the end of that month and you win or you lose or whatever it is. But no matter what, you're now a better person.
Yeah.
Like you've just dieted really good. You've done all these extra training sessions. You've done this extra cardio that you wouldn't normally do. You studied a lot more. And then you like, even if you lose the competition or you lose the match or whatever it is, you've got all this extra shit. You put in all these extra out. Like you are a better person. You're a better version of what you were. You might have took a L. And it's like Manji, like I look at the footage of me riding in Manji and I was like, fuck, I actually rode good.
Yeah.
Like I did pretty good there because every single Thursday before that race, I went and did motos, and then every weekend I went and did motos, and I like really tried hard, and I fucking had a crack at it, you know. And then I went to jiu-jitsu a lot more because I wanted to get fit. So it's like just to fucking bite off these big chunks of accountability, hold yourself to them, and fucking you will improve.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I think a lot of people aren't accountable for their actions, and as soon as you put into your head you are where you are right now because of no one else but yourself. Like you are in this shit situation because of you, and that's it. And it's like, but people come up with these excuses, but because this person fucked me around or because of this or that. And you're like, dude, you can't keep telling yourself that story because that story, like, and I learned a long time ago, no one really gives a shit about excuses. Like, and it's like a pretty like cutthroat thing, but like on like a World Cup result sheet, if your name's at the bottom, there's no little paragraph next to that that said, oh, but you had an injury. Oh, but you had this. Oh, but you had that. Your result is there. And that's the same in life. If you're not where you want to be, do you want to go up to everyone? Oh, but this happened to me. Oh, but that happened to me. Or do you just want to like be like, I'm not doing the right shit and I'm just coming up with excuses to ease the pain? It's just like people would rather, what is it? People would rather tell a nice lie than a harsh truth. And it's just like, you need to tell yourself the harsh truth and you need to like learn from that and keep moving forward. If you just keep telling yourself this lie is like, oh, but I'd be here if Barry didn't screw me around. I'd be here because that.
My fucking ex did this.
You're not going anywhere, man. You're draining people and you are stuck. You are stuck in this one place and you will just keep going backwards, not forwards. And it's just like, as soon as you see, like I forgot how old I was, but I remember I think I crashed at a race or something, but I had a heap of, I would say bad luck, but it was just like things happened to me. And I remember, I think I was writing a post being like, oh, I got this, but this. And as I was writing it, I was just like,
I do that all, you just delete it.
Yeah,
I
was like, no one cares. Literally no one cares. Like I got this because of just me.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you could look at it as bad luck or like someone did me wrong or whatever, but no, that's what I had today. And it was like, it clicked with me. I was like, no one gives a shit about excuses. It's up to you to do as well as you can. And if you don't, learn from that and move forward with like make a new plan. This isn't working. Like the whole idea of insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So many people do that. I did that. I used to do that. I used to do the same thing.
I still do it in a bunch of areas of my life.
Yeah, a lot of people do it. So it's like something's not working, change it.
Yeah.
Change one thing. And then if maybe that might help, or change another thing. Like constantly just like have a goal, but be like lenient, or not lenient, but like be diverse on how you approach that goal. If it's not working, if you haven't got there and you've put like 5 years into something or like a year or something's like, maybe something's got to change. Maybe you've got to push a bit harder or not push so hard, or talk to different people. Like open up the idea that this isn't working. How do we make it work? Talk to new people about it. Like it's up to you. Like it's all up to you.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is like, I really believe, and full disclaimer, I ain't fucking perfect. I'm not saying this is a dude that's got all my life figured out.
Yeah.
This is some shit that's worked for me. If you think it's fucking worthwhile trying your life, maybe have a go.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to me. I don't fucking have all the answers. But it's, I really genuinely believe that you get what you want in life.
Yeah.
And so you could have all these things in your life.
But how bad do you want it?
Yeah, so you could be in this place, right? And you could be sitting there and you could be like, fuck, I really wish my life was like this. I really wish I had this. I really wish I didn't have these problems.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you get what you want.
Yeah.
You do want this.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, you'd have something different.
Yeah.
Or you'd be working towards something different to the point where you'd know that in the future you're about to get this.
Yeah.
You don't become, like at no point, there's a bunch of stuff in my life I'm not like super stoked on.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of shit I'd love to change, but
how bad do you want to change it? That's the thing.
Yeah,
Obviously not enough.
So I don't feel stuck.
Yeah.
So I might not have the things that I would like to, not even things, but the situations that I'm in aren't exactly the situations that I'd want to be in. But I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm working towards that. And it makes the situations that I'm in that aren't great bearable. I don't feel stuck here. I'm not looking for answers. I'm like, I've got a plan. I'm working towards this. I can see it's happening. So it's like, I might not have what I want in that sense, but I'm working towards it. I know I'm working towards it, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just like stuck and you like, oh, I just fucking don't know what to do, man. I don't know how to fix it. Or, or someone's complaining about this. It's like, well, do you do this? And they're like, well, no, because it's like, well, no, you don't want to. You get what you want.
Yeah.
And if you're not there yet and you're not working towards it, and you're still looking at it as like this thing off in the distance that you don't have, I wish I had this, then it's just like, you don't actually want that. And the thing that taught me that is the harsh reality of like when I come back from America, and I didn't end up being the person that I thought I was going to be over there. Why?
Because you wanted it enough.
I didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
I'm saying this out of harsh personal experience. I feel like in a lot of ways I just like fucked him like a really great opportunity in some senses. Like, I did some amazing things and I had like a really cool time over there, but in terms of like being successful and like the things that I said I wanted, I didn't want them. I didn't work towards those things.
You just kind of wanted
enough.
them.
I liked the idea of that thing. Oh, I want to have a fucking six pack. I want to be able to do this. I want to be fast on the bike. I want to be. It's like that. Yeah, bro, that's a fucking pipe dream.
Yeah,
that's just a wish that you have. Like, you actually don't want it. If you don't have it and you can't see the light towards the end of the tunnel of the work that you're putting in, then you actually don't want it. You just like the idea of it. The idea makes you feel good.
Yeah. Because do you know Eric Thomas? He's a motivational speaker. He does this real famous, he's at I think he's at a school or university. He does this speech, it's real motivating. And in it, he just says, you don't want it, you just kind of want it. It's like, you don't want it as bad as you want to sleep. You don't want it as bad as you want to party.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So it's like all these other things, you want more than that. So it's like, if you want that thing, you'll create a way to get that thing. And I think like example, like me and my girlfriend, like she lives in Tasmania. There was a pandemic. I'm going overseas. Like there's so much shit that I could just been like, too hard. I don't want it. But like I really wanted that. So I created a way to make that work. And like we're so solid now from doing that. But it's like you say, you want something, you'll figure out a way. And it might be hard, but it's how bad you want that thing. If I just said, oh, I don't really want to catch a flight, it's work to make it. To make it work, it takes work. But I'm so happy that I put in that work because I wanted it that badly. And it's like you say, if you find something that you want that badly, you'll create a way instead of an excuse. Yeah,
and then it just like, it doesn't feel. Yeah, like I said, all the things that I kind of would like to have in my life, it doesn't feel like. I mean, who knows? Like buying my own house is like something I'd be just super stoked on.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really don't know when that happens, but it's like, I don't feel bummed about it because I feel like I'm working. I feel like even though I don't know the roadmap, I don't know what it looks like, I'm not bummed. You know, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not that fucking bummed on it. I feel like I'm on the right track, and I do want it, and I am doing the work to get there. I think it's when you sort of like, you can't even see a roadmap to it. Yeah. That's what's like, all right, well, if you can't see a roadmap and if there's no light at the end of the tunnel, then like you actually don't want this thing. Yeah. If you really wanted it, there'd be some wheels in motion. You'd be fucking, you'd be getting closer. Well, that's a big thing as well. I think a lot of people go through life and they don't even know what they want. Like they really don't know. Like I always joked around when people called me lucky for like the job I get to do, and I'd be like, what do you want to do? And they'd be like, I don't know. Yeah. And I was just like, how am I lucky? I had to just know what I'd want to do. Yeah, I at least came up with like knowing what I want. Like, just start with that, man, and then put effort into that. But when people like don't even know what they want to do, you're like, well, I can't help you. Yeah, literally, it's like I can't even give you advice on how to get the thing if you don't even know what the thing is. So I think an easy way, not an easy way, the way that you find out what you like to do is to cross off a bunch of things you don't like to do. Yeah. I've had that in my head since I was a kid, Like I worked at my first job out of school. So I worked at like a grocery store, and then I worked at a video easy.
Yeah.
And then I did.
And you don't want to do that shit.
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to do that. And then I worked at Sizzler washing dishes. Definitely.
This all comes back to the pain motivating you to not. Because I remember because I went to TAFE for welding, and I hated it. Like, I love welding. It's a cool skill to have, and I'm glad I've got it. But going to TAFE, man, like half the like conversations would be just like just doing burnouts. Like, it was pretty
just
like
doing burnouts.
just like the.
Did you go to TAFE with Jack Miller?
Yeah, he's out the back.
Yeah.
But dude, it was pretty funny. Like, sometimes I'd go and you just hear the conversations they'd be having about like getting in trouble with the police and like just being like just dickheads. And I was like, this is not where I want to be. But I remember that motivation to be like, if my writing doesn't go right, this could be
my life.
This could be option B. Yeah. And it was like, I'm glad I went through that to see like the pain of like, if this doesn't work, that's what happens. And I think it's good to have that to like give you the, I really want this because I don't want that.
Yeah, what's the phrase? Paralysis by analysis.
Oh yeah.
I think is the phrase that like people coin for just, you don't know what you want to do, so you don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then a cool thing on the Gwyn podcast that we spoke about, and we kind of talked about a bit last night, but it's just like, oh, you don't like mountain biking? That's because you're not real good at it.
Yeah.
Like, spend some time to get good. You don't like the guitar? That's because you can't play the guitar.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd like it if you could fucking play every Carlos Santana song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to invest. There's a certain level of proficiency that you need to gain in any skill for it to become enjoyable. It's like, I don't like running. Guess what?
Have you ever
I
run?
fucking suck at running.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of know I probably don't even want to put in the work to get good at running.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is, yeah. I fully get what you mean. Like, people, like, they'll write something off that they hate when it's like, have you done it more than once or twice?
Yeah.
Like, because how good's that when you like something clicks? Like, you'll start to do something, whether like no matter what it is, and you have this kind of like aha moment where you're like, oh, I just played that song perfectly, I didn't make a mistake, or I just hit that jump.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you get that moment, it's like, okay, now we'll start, like, I think it, like, once that happens, it starts to compound the knowledge and everything of like whatever you're investing in. And that's a good feeling. And then once you get to there, you're like, I love this. This is awesome. Like, but you got to like crack through that first barrier.
Yeah.
And that's why I think most people like, just say like New Year's resolution or something, like they'll get a gym membership, go twice, they'll start a new skill, do it twice. Like, it's just like that commitment to actually chasing after something. And I think like I honestly really love, because I feel like I love motivating people into like going after that kind of stuff, because I feel like I was someone that, like, I honestly, besides writing as a kid, was not good at anything. Like, I wasn't bad, but I wasn't good. It was like, even at school, I was terrible at school. Like, I kind of like had nothing. So I felt like I was one of those kids that kind of just like, you just kind of float by and just had no real proper direction. And then when I found writing, it like, I got so good at it and elevated me so high. And then obviously,
you wanted to do the thing that you were good at.
Yeah. And then you chase after it, man. It's so fulfilling when you actually like have that thing that you can put all your energy into, and then can like, then by doing that can like motivate other people and like get them into something. And I think if I can look at like, hey, I was that kid that wasn't that smart, wasn't that good at anything, got really good at something to the point where it was like a full-time job and I can travel around the world. Like, I look at other people, I'm like, what do you want to do? Because if you want to do something, man, like, you can do it. Like, I have this analogy, like, I want to be the guy at the top of the slide that like pushes you down, because it's like, you'll look down and it's like, oh, but it's pretty far down there and it's pretty long. I love being the guy that just gives someone a push, because like, you get, as soon as you get the push, man, you get the momentum after that, that you use your own momentum to like get to the bottom. I just want to be the guy that just gives that little push, like, you can do it, just give it a try, like, commit your time wisely, make a plan, go after it, make it happen. But that's like my big thing now that I really enjoy doing, is just being the push guy. Like, I always like,
get the fuck
just boot them.
Go on, get out of here, you pussy.
Because it's so good. Like, I remember I came on this last time I came.
Hold that thought. I got to piss again. Fuck. I'm like, I let him finish. I'm like, nah, I can't.
All right, I got a good thought.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to
tell Ronan so that you remember it.
Oh.
Fucking being hydrated sucks.
Yeah, I'm up pee again as well.
I need a pee too. I've been busting this whole time.
Oh man, how did we do 4 hours straight last time? Um,
Do you remember?
The whole push thing. I was going to talk about how I talk about my brother on the podcast, and then like the effect it can have.
That's cool. That's cool.
And what's this thing about the millionaire follower, 4 million?
Oh yeah. Funny shit.
You know, I was thinking the other day, how fucked is it? Like, our whole lives are going to be documented. Imagine when you're 80 and you're in the nursing home and you can just look back through everything.
I wonder how that's going to feel. Fuck is raining.
Like, looking back.
It's going to feel weird, eh?
Like, dude, that's a...
I wonder how attached you'll be to, like, your youth.
Well, think about now when you see parents have kids and they make their kids an Instagram their kids. So, like, their kid's born and they've literally... Their first photo is them in, like, the hospital.
Yeah.
And, like, do you hand that Instagram over to your kid once they're 15, 16? Like, when does that go... Okay,
now this is
you. And you're like,
are.
so you've literally got your entire life tracked.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I was talking yesterday to Gwyn about, like, because he's on Intense. I saved for like years to buy an Intense M1.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have a photo of it.
Yeah.
I literally, like, we just didn't have, like, we didn't really have a camera as a kid.
Yeah, so much of your childhood doesn't get documented, and now it's everything.
Yeah, we got a bunch of photos from when we were young, but like we really just we weren't that family. Like we just really didn't take that many photos, you know.
Probably good. Like it's good and bad because a lot of time, like
I wish now I could
you
go
had a
back
little bit
and
more.
have a
Yeah,
bit of a,
there's like again, there's the spectrum of like too much. And then there's like, I feel like now it's too much, but back then like a few photos would be cool just to like have some memories.
Yeah, and like no video, literally zero. I don't have any video of me as a kid. It's fucking bizarre.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like Jace just came out at 30.
yeah,
and then he's everywhere. Yeah, it's like, where are you as a child?
Fucking making up for it. You cunts will know my name. Yeah, so you're talking about the push.
Yeah, like giving people a push. So it's like the whole idea of just investing in people, I think, and you get such a, like I get such a rewarding feeling from that. But when I came in the podcast last time, I kind of gave my brother a bit of shit because he was very attached to his phone. And he just had a little girl as well. And he'd always like video his daughter, which is, I understand, like he wants to share his daughter. And that's the way he's doing it. I got that, but I'm also like, that's not like, as a kid, like, do you want, like her earliest memories are probably going to be a phone in her face. And I was like, is that a good habit to start from such a young age? And he even said like she would like try and grab at it because it's a shiny toy, man. It's like, and it does all these cool, like they don't know what it's doing, but you press a button, like it's very stimulating, especially to a child. And I just saw it as like not being that great. And I remember coming on here and I talked about it. Anyway, when I met him, when I went home, it was actually funny because, you know, I said I would call him and like he'd always answer straight away. When I was driving home from here, I called him and he didn't pick up and I was like, oh, he's actually missed it for once. Anyway, get back and like see him. And I kind of like chatted to him about that. I was like, I didn't want to like give you shit, but I was just like, that's how I feel. And he's like, yeah, I get you. And I was like, if I write you like a training program with a few different things, I'll do that, but you've got to delete all your social media and I'll write you a training program. Anyway, he's like, I was like, come on, like that's a fair deal. So anyway, he deletes all these social media, like all YouTube, Instagram, everything. And I was like, oh, he did it. It's like, I'll write you a program. So that night I just wrote down a program and it just kind of like had some like just simple things like just like a little bit of gym, meditation, like trying like cooking new things, like just basic stuff. Anyway, sent in the program. I didn't see him for like 2 weeks or so. And then I think he either came around to mine or I went to his and I saw him and I was like, oh, have you like downloaded social media again yet? He's like, no, I actually haven't. And I feel really good. And I started meditating like every day. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, every day I meditate for 20 minutes and like started doing a bit more exercise and stuff and instantly got like just happier and like just more. And like, it was so cool to see that like he really like the biggest thing he got out of it was the meditation. And now he meditates like more than me. Like he really got attached to that. And then he really started to see like his habit that what he was doing. And then he saw it in my dad because my dad would go on his phone a bit and he's like, saying how I was like, oh, it's pretty bad. See dad always on his phone. He's like, dude, that was you. And I saw that in you. And then you see it in dad. It's kind of like funny because when you're in it, you don't see it. And he's fully changed like his mindset and how he is as a person. And like, it was so cool that like, he just needed that little push to like, to get into meditation and get away from social media. That was it. like, and again, we're not saying like we're perfect people and we've got it all figured out, but I think we've got little like triggers that can really help people. And that little trigger of just meditating and then not looking at your phone, man, it's like honestly changed like his whole life in a positive way, which I am so stoked about. And he's more engaging with his daughter and all that stuff. And that just took this small little thing. And to me, dude, I get so much fulfillment out of like being able to help my brother who I love so much in this little way. And it's like, I only know that because I guess I learned it from someone else, and then you just pass that on.
Yeah.
And I guess what you do is just pass that on to 300, 700, like thousands and thousands of people. So it's like, but I guess it's hard for you to get that reaction back. So I got that back so personal that it was so like that to me. I was like, I just want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I guess this is like the biggest scale to do it. Well, for me anyway, like I don't know any other way where I can touch this many people in a positive way besides your podcast. And I think that's why like I look at it and like give it the respect I feel like it needs, because especially after that first one, man, like I told you, the reaction from that was absolutely insane. Like, and I think even to the second one, like I got a bit nervous to do the second one because it's like the whole thing, like Gwyn said, like once you build something up so high, like you kind of feel like you've got to keep that level or else it's a letdown. Yeah. And I definitely got a bit nervous. Like the first one, I wasn't nervous at all, man. I was on this like life high and everything was going well. And then the second one, I was like, oh shit, I gotta keep my game up there. And then this one, honestly, it's kind of gone back to just like,
yeah, that's what I was stoked. Like you've reached there's a few people that come on and then you just reach like we're just friends. Yeah. Like I literally don't give a fuck what we talk about. Like you're just my friend. And if we sit here and talk, like I'm going to talk to you. This conversation that we've had today is like the basically the same one we had at dinner, and then except we watched Jacko Strong's fucking quarantine at breakfast, so we didn't really talk about much at brekkie. But and then like Luke Kidgell's like that. He just comes on, fucking says it. Everyone's Sammy. You know, I like these kind of ones.
It's just easy, hey. It's easy.
Low pressure.
Because then like the first one we did, I knew you for a whole of 20 minutes before we sat down for 3.5 hours. So it's like I thought it went well, but it's like you're not. Like we were not friends, like we were just like, we knew each other and that was it. And then the second one's like you kind of get a bit more of a connection or whatever, and then it just gets to the point where you're like, you just chat and shit with your buddy. Yeah. Which I think people like, that's like what I think people like in a podcast. It's not this like, how do you feel about mountain biking? I feel great. How do you feel about podcasting?
E-bikes, eh?
Oh man.
So Dean's been asking me about, I said I'd had a story to tell him, but I was like, I actually want to save this for the podcast. Yeah. But so you asked me the other night, you're like, oh, so how does like you get the guests on or whatever and people hit you up? Basically the rule is if you hit me up and I don't know who you are and you ask to come on the podcast, 99.99 recurring % chance that I don't want you to come on the podcast. Because to be honest, I don't even like fucking coming on here. So if you want to come on here, like you're fucking weird. No, not really. But you know, like to feel like, to me, I'm like, fuck, if this at any point to anyone sounds like I am just on this fucking thing shamelessly promoting myself, then like I'm a kook. Yeah. And then if I get those vibes off anyone, but like, so you hit me up, but you come like co-signed with a bunch of people, like a bunch of people had already told me to get you on. So like, there is like exceptions, but anyway, so this will tell you my level. I'm gonna fucking brag about myself for a second here. My level of commitment to not having fucking shit come on the podcast. So I got sent a DM by Grant Cardone. Do you know who Grant Cardone is?
Don't know.
Type in on Instagram, Rose.
Let's get him up. I actually love how you can do this. Like, just pull it up and you're like, okay, let's have a look.
Let's have a fucking deep dive. Yeah, Grant Cardone. Bang, there you go. 3.4 million followers, public figure. Let's read his bio. Cardone Capital, undercover billionaire, 10x movement, Cardone Ventures, 10x incubator, 10x health system, investor.
I feel like
real estate training.
I feel like the thing that undercover billionaire, like that straight away is like a contradiction on itself.
I think he did a show though that was called Undercover Billionaire.
Telling everyone you're a billionaire doesn't really make you undercover though.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine wearing a shirt at a party, undercover cop, and being like, are you a cop? No.
No, are you a cop?
Would a cop wear this?
Yeah. Would a cop wear a t-shirt that says I'm an undercover cop?
You're being
Don't
weird.
think so, bro.
You're being weird, man.
So anyway, he puts on his story, maybe it was like one of these posts, but he puts on there like, podcasters hit me up, I want to do 10 podcasts, or like whatever. So I like wrote in this big long email of like, hey, we've actually got this US studio, but we're in Australia. I've built this thing from scratch. This is my story. Kind of just crapped on, like did a bit of a sell.
Yeah.
Anyway, got the email back from his assistant, and yep, you're booked in. It was supposed to happen yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Or what's today?
3rd or something.
Yeah, so it was supposed to happen yesterday, and then anyway, yep, you're booked in, sweet, and then here's the list of topics. So first of all, it was 20 minutes, and I was like, well, that's not really a podcast. Yeah. I'll just ask one question. So my plan is he was going to come on, and I was going to say, hey Grant, g'day, how are you? Fucking thanks for coming on. What do you think about what we're talking about wealth and being rich?
Yeah.
I was like, you're a guy that's rich. Are you wealthy?
Yeah.
What's the difference? And just for 20 minutes, I was just going to explore that because it's something that's been on my mind lately, and I would be interested in hearing about that. I don't know if I could read the email. It's probably got some kind of like legal type clause or whatever. But anyway, basically, I get sent this email back like, these are the topics. Grant would like to talk about his new Florida investment that for just $1,000 the everyday investor person can.
So
and
it was
just
he's just
like
treating you as an ad.
Yeah, it was just
you're an ad.
Yeah, it was just like a 20 minutes. He'd have the same fucking speech that he'd say to everybody else, but 3.5 million followers. And, probably good to fucking get to talk to a billionaire. Billionaire. I don't know how much he's worth. But
he's undercover.
Yeah, he's undercover about it. But yeah, and I just pretty much wrote back and just said, hey, this isn't really our deal. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I basically sent back the kindest fuck you possible.
Yeah.
So Grant Cardone, I'll email this clip to you. If you'd like to come and do the podcast properly for 3 hours with no questions, welcome on the show.
Yeah.
If not, I ain't fucking putting the Gypsy gang through that bullshit.
It would be so good. It's like, you imagine if you just agree to it and they come on and you just ask them the question you wanted to, and then it's just like,
oh, just fucking shit me though, eh? Like, I mean, nah, actually, it didn't shit me. The guy, like, that's probably good business. Like, he's probably doing good business. It's just not what I'm about.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's like the whole thing. It's like, I guess his fame or his followers can then change how you run your business, where it's like,
which I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like it doesn't matter what you like, because like you said, him being on here could grow it, but it's not growing. Yeah. It's not growing it the way you want it to grow. So it's just like,
like that shit just does it. It isn't important to me.
Yeah,
like the numbers and like getting the podcast bigger and all, like, that's good. I need that to happen. Like, that's a thing that has to happen. But like, it ain't a win at all cost type fucking scenario. Like, I'm not prepared to...
I guess that's like the same as an athlete like doping or something to get better results, but they don't really believe that like that's not the right way to do it, but you can do it. It's in a weird way similar to that. I think you could relate to that, because it's like you do getting what you want, but not the way you want to get it. Yeah. And it's just like, if you can step away from that.
So yeah, that's the level of fucking...
We're doing it this way.
Yeah, I ain't fucking around with these clowns. So
maybe get him on, then you can go on a trip.
Yeah, I'd love to
get the numbers up and you get out of here.
Get on his jet.
I guess.
But, I mean, that's the fuck. It's crazy. Like, that's the world, eh? Like,
I think it all comes down to like, what do you want to sell your soul for?
Yeah,
it's like comes down to that price. Is like, you get this, but you got to do this, and it's like, where are your values and morals? Where do they come in? And like, how far will you go with something before you're like, this is not me. But that's such a slippery slope as well, because then you're like, oh, because imagine if you did it, numbers blow up, gets real big, someone else comes, hey, I saw what you did with that guy. Yeah. I've got 10 million followers.
Yeah, that's what I thought about all that. But it's just like, again, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you could think, oh, then he could come on, then I could, but nah.
But I don't think that's a good thing though. Nah. I think that's a bad thing, because it's like you're on this slippery slope and then you start going the wrong direction. And like, I'm sure a lot of like hardcore Gypsy Tales gang fans would just be like, this is not what I'm about.
Well, the thing is too, right, is it's not even about, like, it goes a bit deeper than even like my morals or like me wanting the show to be a certain way. What happens if like someone in Florida listening to the podcast gives that dude $1,000?
Yeah.
I don't fuck it. They might not have $1,000 to give. Like, and the thing is, so that podcast that I spoke about wealth, Naval, just, it's on Spotify and YouTube, Naval, How to Get Rich, Naval. It's fucking amazing. It's free.
Yeah.
And it's 3.5 hours of like incredible money advice. Yeah. And not just money advice, just life advice in general. And everybody should read it, should listen to it. And he's like, I can't charge for this.
Yeah.
Because if I'm charging money for money advice,
Yeah.
then I'm being disingenuous.
Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, if you've got so much money, and this is kind of this, if you've got so much fucking money
Yeah.
that you want to tell people how to make money, why are you charging them for it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Why do you, wait, so you need more money?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not as rich as you said you were.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't see Elon Musk when he eats Doge, when he tweets Doge to the moon.
Yeah.
Like, he's not fucking charging people for that advice. He's not charging people for money advice. He's the fucking richest in the world. And he's just he's like, yeah, I'm good. Here's the fucking info, and you do it if you can, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the real thing I thought about. I was like, man, imagine if like someone listens to that podcast, trusts me enough,
And then goes and does it.
and then goes and buys whatever this dude's selling.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what I just didn't want to fuck with. I was
Also,
like, I don't know about that.
Also, it's crazy with like, you know how you say like it's free advice, and like even this podcast is free. It's like so much stuff is free, and this is kind of like a semi off topic, but I find it so funny how people will like hate on things that are free. And I compare it to just say like your Instagram or the podcast or whatever. Imagine if you're a person, you go into, just say your podcast is a store, my Instagram is a store. Imagine if you walked into someone's store down the street, walked in, looked around at all the shelves and stuff and go, this sucks. Your store is shit.
Yeah.
I hate it here. Why do you even have this store? This sucks.
You should do that. You should do this. You should do that.
And then they walk out and leave, and then they come back the next day and do the same thing. I'm like, why do you keep coming back to this?
Keep looking at my store.
Yeah, it's like, why do you keep coming back and shitting all over my store and saying how much it sucks?
You never buy nothing.
Yeah, and it's all free. Everything
it's free. You just take anything you want.
you take anything you want. But it's like, no, because dude, I posted some stuff that got some hate. And I just told the guy, I'm like, don't follow me, man. Like, you don't have to. And then his response was like, I think it was something like, he didn't unfollow me. He's like, no, look, I'm not going to do that because like I follow you for your writing, but I think the shit you're saying is real stupid. I was like,
shut the fuck up.
I was like, just leave then, but don't like come at me like aggressive when I'm like, oh, he's like, if you want, you can just block me. And I was like, I don't want to block you. I just don't want to have this argument with you. But I just find it so funny. Stop coming into my store saying how the store sucks and then leaving and then coming back the next day and be like, if I see stuff that has a negative reaction to me on like Instagram or something, I just unfollow it. I was like, I don't need that in my life.
Oh man. Yeah. The one that I love too is when like the YouTube comments and you'll see people being like, oh, well, this and this and this about like the podcast. I'm like, oh, cool. Can you please shoot me a link to your podcast with Brian Deegan?
Yeah.
And I'll study the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And copy everything that you did.
Yeah.
Oh, you've never done a podcast with Brian Deegan?
Yeah.
What about Travis Pastrana? Have you? Oh, so you've never done this?
Yeah.
But I'm supposed to take your advice.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I think I'm just going to ignore this comment.
Imagine
people legitimately think they could like tell you how to do your job. Yeah. It's like, you don't do this fucking job. I wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
If Rogan says you probably should have done this different.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would.
But you can also give advice that's not like, that could be like real positive if someone's like, oh, maybe you should ask this question or something like that. But like, people don't normally ask, like, say it in a nice way. They just shit on it.
Fucking dick.
But it's like, imagine Christmas is coming up. Imagine you get like a Christmas present off someone and you just shit all over it. You're like, dude, it's a present. It's free. You didn't pay for that. It's like you get someone some new like moto boots or something. You're like, dude, these suck. I don't even like white. Like, why would you get me this? You could have done this so much better. And you're like, didn't cost you anything, man.
Yeah, you're missing the point here,
yeah,
bro.
I find it so funny when people hate on shit that they don't even pay for. It's like that you can just either look the other way or like do whatever you want with it, but you're not paying for that thing. It's like, I understand if like you buy something off someone and it's not what you wanted, but it's like you've invested,
or it was what was advertised.
Yeah. But it's dude. It's like you just put up a thing. I did a podcast with Brian Deegan. It's like
it's free.
It's free, and that's that's what it is. It's not like I pop up on the screen and just like start talking like Brian Deegan.
But I guess people.
It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that doesn't look like him. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a hard world in that sense. But if you put yourself out there, you just got to be fucking down with the bullshit, you know?
Yeah. I copped a fair bit of it when I was in quarantine, which was like the most unhealthy thing to do because like honestly in quarantine, like you're already like
kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Like I wasn't like, the first week wasn't too bad. I got a lot of shit done. And then the second week, by about day 8 or 9, I was a bit like, we've still got a lot of time. And the thing that because I remember last time we came on here, we talked about the suicide rate in Australia was way higher than actual COVID deaths. And I just was like, in my thought, I was like, you're putting healthy people in a possibly sick environment. Like I went in there and like healthy guy, I've been vaccinated, I'm not promoting that it will do or don't, but I had been tested negative like 3 times. And I was like, okay, so I've done all this and you're putting me in a box.
And I still got to sit in the box.
And you've got to put me in a box. And I was like, physically I'm fine. Mentally, this could really mess me up. Anyway, I just kind of promoted that I felt like you're putting healthy people in an environment where they could damage them mentally and possibly commit suicide, which has killed more people in the same time that COVID had happened. And I put that out there, and then people started like attacking me, saying how like, no, that's not true and this and that. And I was like, dude, I'm in it right now. I don't feel very good. Like, and like, I feel like I've got my shit pretty well sorted to deal with my emotions, but someone going into that same situation that might already be a bit mentally scarred or something might be the starting point to then spiral into in a bad place. So I was just more or less promoting that I just didn't think it was the right thing for people that had done the right thing by being vaccinated or like being tested and everything like that. So I just promoted that, but then dude, some of the comments and backlash, and I was like, you literally like, I was already not feeling great, and then people were like, what would you know, you're wrong. And I was like, I know how I feel right now, and it's not good, and you're telling me like, no, you're full of shit, you should feel good, like you should be great. And I'm like, oh man, this is so. It made me kind of think about it, and I was just like, even to the point where I was just like, I don't know how much I want to like prod this thing, because it can like, people like, because it's a super touchy subject, and I was like, I want to be able to promote, I guess, what I think, but then being in that situation where you've got like, I had no one to really fall back to, like you're isolated like 2 weeks by yourself, like the nurses come and like do like a swab every like 2-3 days, but they're full PP, you don't see like a face for 2 weeks. You're like in this little box, and it was like the last few days I was like, this is not great. Like I was definitely not stoked on it. I was like, this could be really bad for someone that's not
man
coping well.
I saw some fucking gnarly videos of people just freaking out in quarantine, like hectic shit, and the cops were fucking bashing them, and I was just like, oh man, it was full on, dude. I can't remember. That was another reason for me to just kind of like dip on the fucking social thing as well. Because I'm like, I don't really need to see any of this. Yeah. Because you can't really control what you think about after you see something like that.
Dude, even like to the same extent, like I didn't really want to look at my phone before we did the podcast, because like I didn't want something to like trigger a negative emotion,
derail you.
Yeah. And it's funny because even when I race World Cups now, or world champs and stuff, I don't try and look at Instagram or Facebook or anything in the morning before I compete, because it's like you could see something that could really trigger you in the wrong way, and then that's in your brain, and it's like you just don't need that shit. And I think that's like, you know, we talk about when you're in that mode, you don't really associate with the fans so much, because you could associate with someone that like
has a weird experience,
that comes up to you and just like, oh man, and then it like kind of puts you in this weird headspace. Like you kind of want to control your environment, so everything that happens, you know, it's gonna happen, and
that makes so much sense.
So you can just like run through your day, and like you just want everything to kind of run the way you think it should run.
Well, that was the biggest reason. Like I think I started thinking about that with the whole like TV thing, because like my ex, when I lived with my ex, and she'd put on like Love Island or some fucking bullshit. Yeah. And then you're just hearing all this drama, and it's just like weird, like just weird shit. And I'm like, I'm hearing this, and then I'm thinking about it. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to think about this. But you can't, like, it's like I'm talking English. You can't just decide to not hear the words that I'm saying. Yeah. You know English. You have no control over that. And then you process the words that I'm saying. There's no choice here. There's no free will in like what you think in reaction to what I say. If I just start saying some super fucked up weird shit right now, like you block your ears and walk out, but like you've heard something, you know?
I'm at your mercy of what you wanted me to feel.
Fucking oath, man. And people don't place enough importance on that in their day-to-day life. Yeah. That's why like being around toxic people is so fucking bad. That's why listening to dumb shit on the fucking radio, or like even fucking ads and stuff, you know, like that sucks, but it's a lot of my income's like YouTube ads and shit, you know, but it's like there's a lot of this like weird fucking like TV, when you listen to TV through the, you know, through the week. It's just, there's all these,
because it could be a small thing could trigger you and trigger such a bad like a bad and like you say, sometimes when you just something pops up and you'll be on this high, you'll be real happy or something, and then you'll go turn the TV and then it's just like this many people died in this accident and you're like,
dude, even Jacko, man, when I was living with Jacko, like he was super into the COVID stuff and all the listening to different doctors about the and I'm like, bro, I can't hear this shit, man. I don't want to think about this all day. Like, I've got other shit to do. Yeah,
it's a spiral because you like spiral into it. Because I know, like I said, when I was overseas, like I listened to a lot of stuff because I was quite interested, like what is happening in Australia. Because obviously, I mean, Europe, you don't hear anything. So I'd get on YouTube every now and again and like look at stories and stuff that are happening. And dude, it would put me in the worst state of mind, like worst state of mind ever. And I would see that and I'd just be like I remember, I think it was at a race somewhere and like I don't know if somewhere went back into lockdown. I don't know if it was Melbourne or something, like something big happened and I think people started reposting and that's where I saw it. And I remember like clicking on it and watching it and I just put me in this shit mood and like, I'm going to race, man. Like I don't want to focus on that stuff. It just like pulled me out of this like mindset and changed it. And I was like, oh dude, it can like, you can.
The Melbourne riots is what fucked me up.
Yeah.
When that was going down, like I was even talking to a friend, she just moved to Sydney and, I was talking to her and I just said, oh man, I'm just in like a weird place about this whole Melbourne thing. And she's like, why? You're not in Melbourne?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, fuck, feels like I am.
Yeah.
Like I can't get away from this shit. Like, and then I get people sending me stuff and then there's people from America being like, what's going on here? It's just like, not even there. Fuck.
I hated the division it put between people, especially like I remember you'd see someone would post like a riot video or something happening or like people protesting and then you'd get people just say from like Queensland or Perth or something be like, oh, they're so ungrateful, they're like, and there's like hating on them and then you click on their thing and they're like some influencer that's been at the beach, their life hasn't changed at all.
100%.
And I was like, how can you judge these people that have been in lockdown for like 200 and something days? I'm like, I don't condone what they're doing, but you're not in their shoes.
Cause effect. Cause effect. Like there's you do something, this is a reaction. You do something, this is a reaction. It's like there's people that were in lockdown fucking 250 plus days. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'd be like if that happened to me. I ain't gonna judge anybody in that situation. I've never experienced that shit. And you get those people that will just be like, well, they fucking shouldn't do this. Fucking people's property. This is disgusting. You're not there. You're not them. And I guarantee if you were there and you were them and you'd lived all their life experiences and you had all their problems and all their thoughts, you're that person. And you're doing what they're doing. It just is what it is.
No, I saw that, man. It was just like, it's just upsetting really, hey, when you see it and you're just like, what, like, you're literally, there's people that are suffering and they might be reacting in the wrong way in your opinion, but then like you throwing stones at them and they're just like, they're already hurting and then you're like putting them down more.
And also, what does your opinion matter?
Like why do you think your opinion's so big?
This sea of opinions just kind of floating around. I struggle with that. I'm like, what the fuck why do I even have a say in this shit? That's why I tried to make it to where like the only time I really spoke on it was when I had like an actual fucking senator with skin in the game across from me, and it's like, all right, there's a reason to talk about this. This is this guy's job. So I'll talk to him because he's in the fucking game, like I just don't want to be this opinion person. And I even think with that, because I listened to that and it was good because I felt like you were more like, it was questioning like why these things happen. Like you were trying to learn from what he had. It wasn't like you were pushing a massive opinion. Like you had your beliefs and then asked it, like kind of went back and forth about like, what do you think about this? Or does this work like this? So I was like, it was super like informative more or less. You weren't just pushing opinions on people about like what you feel about it. That's because I just don't know.
Exactly, And like I remember you talked about the whole thing about the speed of like how we just dropped down to like 5 kilometers. Like the way Australia is moving forward was just super slow, and it's just like, who determines that speed limit? And it's just like but that's like how you view it, which is not like pushing a massive opinion. But I agree with that. It's like we just slow down way too slow. And then there's like diminishing returns. So it's like if you make the speed limit 100, you can get to where you want to go. And even like an hour of driving works out to be about 100 kilometers of distance. You know what I mean? Like even the distances, it's kind of like fucking relative. And then it's like if you go to 200 Ks, probably sketchy, probably dangerous, unnecessarily. But then if you go to like 2 kilometers an hour, well then the function of the car is now completely gone. So it's like you've just legislated this thing to the point where it has no function now. That's like if you said that the maximum height you could fly a helicopter is 6 feet.
then there would be no point driving a helicopter.
Yeah.
You just drive a car.
Yeah.
So it's like there is this like things that have function, and you can create rules around function that then destroy the function.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, like that's just what we were doing. It's like, okay, well, we're just like
Destroying
completely taking away all of this functionality, and then it's like, maybe that's what it takes. Like maybe there is a world where you need to just take away all functionality. Everyone has to stay inside. No one can go outside. Just do your fucking thing. This is like a full necessity. But it's like, I didn't see that was the case. You know what I mean? Like in my mind. And that's the thing that I could be wrong about.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, is this like limiting the functionality of society? Like, I don't know that we could have argued with that part of the argument.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess the thing is it necessary? That's probably the thing that, you know, you can make an argument about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's like the whole idea is it gets to the point where it's like you should be allowed to take a risk if you want to drive at that speed limit or you want to do that. Like that comes back to your idea of that risk. It's like if you want to lock yourself away and be locked down forever, like it's like the whole idea, you wrap yourself in bubble wrap and lock yourself in a room.
That's on you.
You're going to run very little risk of hurting yourself, but you're also not going to live.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'd rather kind of live a bit.
Yeah, well, it's the same as like skydiving.
Yeah.
Why are you allowed to skydive?
Yeah.
Well, fuck, if you want to die, I don't want to skydive. I'm shit scared of that.
Yeah.
You know? But other people do. That's fucking fine.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is just like, you shouldn't, like if you've got a phobia of driving a car, where you're like, nah, it's fucking too dangerous. Too many people die on the roads every year. Like, I just don't want to do it. I'm never going to walk on a sidewalk. I'm never going to get in a car. I'm never going to get in a taxi. Should the government be able to make you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's just like kind of goes against like freedom, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like there will be a price to pay for that person. They're just never going to be able to get anywhere very quickly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like that person will have to deal with the repercussions of their choice.
Yeah.
But shouldn't be up to the fucking government to tell like that person what they can and can't do based on like fears they have around death. And it's like, yeah, there is death there. Like you actually can be, whether it's like a unrational fear or like irrational or not, that's not up to you.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
You don't make that call.
Yeah, you're not that person. You don't get to make that fucking call. So that to me was like a thing that I think everyone lost sight of as well. It's like, yeah, if you're a hardcore anti-vaxxer, you're probably wrong. Like the science is, you know, there's a lot more vaccinated people out there that are
but also they should
fine.
have the choice to be wrong. Or wrong, right? That's the thing. It's like that's on you.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are wrong about so many things.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's completely fine.
Yeah.
So
like
anyway.
just look at how like the flu shot or whatever has been around. Like no one cared if you got or didn't get that. But why is it?
Dude, I got sick as fuck a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like hardcore sick. I was in bed for 4 days. I was like, I got COVID for sure.
Yeah.
I was that thing. And then I'm like, fucking hell, I should have got the vax. I'm fucking, I can't work. I fucked this up and blah, blah, blah. And then it took me, I think I started to get sick on like Saturday night at my mum's. She had a birthday and we had people from fucking everywhere in Queensland come, and I was like, oh, I've got COVID now. I've just given it to fucking everyone. I'm a super spreader.
Yeah.
And Saturday night I started losing my voice. And that was like the first thing. And I said to Mum, I was like, I got to go because like I got to talk next week, you know, like I kind of can't lose my voice.
Yeah.
And then went home Sunday, all day in bed. Monday, all day in bed. Tuesday, all day in bed. I was like, dude, I am fucked. I was getting Maddie to just bring me shit, and then I was just getting Uber Eats, leave it at my door, walk to my door. Like barely ate any. I ate like half a loaf of bread in 4 days, and then a couple Uber Eats for
anything on it, or just straight bread?
Peanut butter and honey. and then Maddie was bringing me like Gatorades and painkillers and cold and flu and stuff.
Yeah,
fully convinced I had COVID. And then I think it was like Thursday or Wednesday, I finally felt good enough to like go and get a COVID test.
Yeah,
no COVID.
Yeah.
I just got the flu.
It's funny.
Turns out that's a fucking real thing still. I was like, what? I got the flu.
That's
and
not
the chick's like, oh yeah, there's been a real bad flu going around. I was like, no COVID?
Yeah.
She's like, nah, we really don't see that much of it, though.
But no one would care about that anyway. Flu.
Nah.
Yeah.
Dude, I was so fucking sick. I was like, oh god damn.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. It is crazy. Like, yeah, you forget about these other things. Like, they're still there.
Oh, yeah.
They're still always been there.
Still get the flu. What good books have you read lately?
I'm reading that Tony Robbins one. That's
Yeah.
my current one. What is it? I think it's like Awaking the Giant Within or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is like, I've always been a big fan of Tony Robbins because
He's a G.
He's a G. And I'm like, yeah, I was one of those things that I just kind of stumbled upon it. I was
You gonna read any Grant Cardone books?
So no, it's actually funny. The one of the photos there, it popped up as like a paid ad on Instagram. So I had seen him, but just not intentionally.
That's funny, as.
I'm trying to think of other book. I've been reading like The Rise of Superman. That kind of goes into all the flow state stuff.
Do not read. Can you, Rones? Can you type in Becoming Superman? I just want to see the sequel to that book. I read it this year. It's fucking dog shit.
Is it?
It's going to be in my annual book review, but it's terrible.
One I finished a little while ago. Lost Connections. Have you read that?
What's this guy's? Can you just click on the author? Go down, Rones. Yeah, there. What's the? Oh shit! Go to Wiki. Wait, is this the fucking? Nah, this is the guy that wrote fucking Spider-Man. Go back. How did we get there? The Rise of Becoming Superman. No, right. Is it The Rise of Superman? Just type in like Rise of Superman flow state. Yeah, there you go. Rise of Superman. Stephen Kotler. So, Stealing Fire. Dog shit. Don't read it.
Not good?
Nah, not good at all. I read that a couple of weeks ago, and that was like one of the first books where I just didn't really want to finish. The only thing that I learnt that was good from that book was that dolphins eat jellyfish to get high. It's fucking random.
Don't they also?
It was a full book of just anecdotes. It was insane.
True.
Yeah.
I haven't like, it's not too bad. It just doesn't flow very well.
Yeah.
And like it's funny, like it's kind of funny when you read a book and it's like not really teaching you anything. It's just kind of reinforcing ideas you already had, which is kind of like good in the way that you're like, I already believe in this, but it's like you're not really getting so much from it, I guess. But I read was it Lost Connections is really good. It's like all about anxiety, depression, and like the reasons why people like the things that happen in our life, like obviously cutting off from people, connection to like environment and stuff like that is like a big reason why connect, because as talks about in it like community and stuff, and once people break off from being in a community or feeling like part of a group or something, that's when most of the time they feel isolated, and then that's when anxiety and depression kind of like take hold. But that was super interesting, so I did enjoy that one. But I need to it's one of those things I'll start reading, and then I just like one of those things where I'll be like real consistent for a little bit and then have a break and then lose it for a bit. I just need to keep like a consistent routine going. Like me and my girlfriend were talking about like every time you want to go look at your phone, it's like that's your cue to pick up a book and put down your phone.
I was proud of you last night though reading a book's kind of the only thing you can do in my house, but when I was like, I gotta work for an hour, you're like, I'll just read my book. I was like, my man.
Yeah, well, like, you know, I said for the podcast, man, like I was like, well, I need to do some training, because like I said, as soon as I start reading consistently, like my mind works in a better way. Like I find words that I wouldn't normally find, and like honestly on the podcast, my biggest thing when I do my personal one, my biggest fear or like my biggest hate is when you've got something on the tip of your tongue or the word you're looking for and you can't find it, and you're just like, man, like. And I know as soon as I like, honestly, I'll read for like a week and I'll just find these words, and you'll be talking and it's almost just like, you're like, shit, I said that. That all flowed together well. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah. And you're not trying to find these things and stutter and stall, because I think, it just doesn't look like a good thing when you've got to like, especially when you have this big pause on a podcast and you try and find that certain word. Yeah. So I feel like when I read it, it's just like, it helps me out. So yeah, did some training for the podcast last night.
Fucking unreal. Well, I love your suit. I love you as a person. We just did 3 hours. We said we'd probably just do like a little 2-hour cheeky one, but we got through 3 hours, mate.
I like it. I think, and remember I said finding words. I think it's I've lost it again now. Good way to end. The archetypes. You know, we're talking about before, like if you're an athlete. And like, what do you think makes up a good athlete? The archetypes to that is what make it up. So So that was the word I was looking for. I found it, got it in the end there. But no, I think it was good. It's pretty chilled.
What?
The podcast.
It was fucking sick.
Yeah. Anything else you want to finish on? When are you going to come down? I'm going to put this because you know when you said things and write things down, it makes you. When are you going to come visit me in Bright?
Where is it?
Bright. It's like it's in Vic. near like Mount Hotham, Falls Creek area.
Yeah, I'm keen. What's on down there? Is there anything on?
Not really.
When the fuck can we even travel down there?
15th of December.
Is that the
next
thing?
month? That's apparently Australia's opening up.
Australia Day.
Well, do a road trip. I'm trying to think. I just like the idea of doing a road trip where you like, kind of like you did like the Manjima thing where you like come down, then there's like you create something, and then you like. I like the idea of that.
I would love to do that.
But yeah,
I'd love to get into mountain biking. I'm like fired up. I've just had all the mountain bikers this week. It's been had Glenn in here yesterday, Gwyn, you.
Yeah. Just all at once. Yeah.
Just want to go slap some berms.
Well, we could make something cool because like literally from my house, you ride out my shed and you just go like moto trails all up the back. I got a mate, Riley McGilvray, who's a really good enduro racer.
Yeah.
And he's literally got like a fully prep track 24/7. That's I literally leave my back of my shed, ride down the rail trail for like 200 meters, go over this hill, and you're into this like perfectly prepped moto track. And I was like, you could just do something. I think I forgot who the guy that actually like designed, like a top motocross guy actually came there and like helped design it and build it.
Sick.
I'm trying to think of his, I can't think of his name right now. Maybe Daniel Reardon, is it?
Yeah,
anyway, he came and did it, but yeah, it's just like, it's like a bit of a playground there.
Yeah. Go
paragliding or something. When I get home, I'm going to go try and get my paragliding license.
I don't think I'll do the paragliding.
You wouldn't do it?
Nah.
Why not?
Why?
You don't do heights, do you?
Nah.
It's chilled. It's so chilled.
I like helicopters.
All right, we'll find a helicopter then.
But yeah, even they're fucking sketchy.
No, paragliding's so chilled, man. You just literally just floating around. Like my goal when I get home is
you do the weirdest shit. I love it.
I always think as what how can I make this, you know, the whole thing, how do I make this better? Or what's like, I was talking to my dad about this and I was like, as soon as I like see something that's like out there, like that's what I'm drawn towards, is just complete random shit to do. It's just like, and it's like to make people like question like kind of like, why are you doing that? Why is this the thing? So I just always am like drawn towards that. It's like when I had that break in Europe, like I went to Chernobyl because I was like, that's friggin' out there. And
what?
Did you not know that?
Nah.
Yeah, I had like a couple of weeks after Amsterdam, I was like, went to Dubrovnik for a little bit and hung out at the beach. And again, just got itchy feet. And I was like, because I had to be out of the EU for 10 days because you get like your visa. Yeah. Anyway, I was in Dubrovnik and I kind of was like, I'm kind of over the beach. Like, been here for a few days, went for a swim. I was like, nah, I want to do something else. I looked at all the places that were out of the EU that I could go to. And I was like, oh, Ukraine's out of that. I was like, what's in Ukraine? And I was like, oh, Chernobyl's there. And I've been wanting to do that for ages. So just flew to Kiev by myself. Freaking cool city, really cool.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like super beautiful women, like
really,
like really cool place. But I was just there solo, and I was like, oh, I got to fill some time. So anyway, got there, ended up going to Chernobyl. It was like super cool experience, real eerie though. And you could,
I bet
you could like feel. This was the bit that like fucked with me a little bit. It was like, you imagine you've got like little ants or like just real, you know, when you're on a trampoline, you get that little staticky feeling, but like real light, you could feel it. Like I could feel it on my face. And I was like, that's radiation. And I was like, dude, I don't want to be in here for long. Hey, like that tripped me out. Like just that little kind of feeling of like something's here.
Yeah.
And it was cool though, because I started watching, have you watched the mini series on, where is it on? It's like a small mini series that HBO did, and it's awesome. Like highly recommend it. Anyone that hasn't seen it to watch
on
it.
Chernobyl.
On Chernobyl, yeah. And I watched that first episode and like got a bit of it, and then I went to Chernobyl and then I watched the rest of it, and it was so cool because we went to all the places in the show and you kind of like linked together, and the relationship between like being there and then watching it was so much cooler.
Yeah.
And like went to like the Ferris wheel and all that kind of stuff, but it was like one of those things I was just like, why not? Like why not go there? Like that was a bucket list thing. The next day I like went to a shooting range, like shot AKs and like sniper rifles and stuff. I was like, that's cool. Like what
You're the most random cunt.
Yeah, but it's like, I see that it's like, be yourself, go out and you don't have to bring someone along to do what you want to do. Like, I was completely by myself, and I learned that from that trip, that very first trip I did up here and met you. That was when I opened my eyes up to, you want to do something, go do it. You don't need to bring someone else along with you. You just have to go do it. And you'll find people there. Like I met a heap of guys.
Strike up a conversation.
Yeah. I met a heap of people that were like at Chernobyl and started chatting with them, got along with them, went to the shooting range with another dude. It's just you meet these random people in just random places of the world, and it's pretty cool. Like I kind of stop sometimes and just think, like, I'm just shooting guns in the middle of Ukraine around no one I knew, just by myself. And I was like, that's cool. It's like, that's something random. That's something we can talk about on the podcast. But yeah, I never want to get to a point where I'm just like, I don't know, just like not chasing after someone. I read a quote the other day and it said, life's either a daring adventure or nothing. And I was just like, I read it and I was just like, that kind of sums up my life. It's just like, it's just all this big adventure. Like, and I never want to look back and be like, I didn't do what I should have done. Like I look back at my life now, I'm so happy that I'm like, I just keep doing all this random like kooky shit and like spreading good things and being happy, and it all just seems to flow really well. So
if you ever utter 2 words to yourself or anybody else, these 2 words, you're in big trouble.
What's that?
I'm bored.
Yeah.
If you can say that at any point in your life, you got some fucking shit to figure out, because there is a lot to do. Yeah. There is a lot to there's a lot to see, there's a lot to be, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to read, like there's a lot of people that you can interact with, like there's a fucking lot going on. So like, and I think you do epitomize that. Like I would not ever know you to be bored. Yeah. And I think that like, if you can become unboreable in your life, like find the most fucking, and I mean, meditation's really good for that too, you know, like sitting down with your legs crossed is boring to most people, but it's like, if you can find a way to like be intrigued by just like your breath and how your breath gets delivered, you know, like you should never be bored in life. And I think that's one of the things that you do so well. Like you will never be bored ever. Yeah,
there's always something. I do find it crazy when I will meet someone and start like describing what I've been doing or how I got somewhere, and they're just kind of like, what is your life? And it's just become my normal thing now. But it's just like, it is pretty wacky and strange, and I kind of like, I love it that it's like that. And I hope from me doing this, it will motivate other people to like step outside their comfort zone.
I reckon it does.
Go and like just try something new and do it by yourself, because I guarantee you, doing something that you are really passionate about, you will find other people equally as passionate, and then together you'll make a new relationship, a new something. Like you'll create something new, where if you just stay in the same path that you're going, like you know what you're going to do, like your whole day is kind of planned out for you in your own mind about like, I'll get up, I'll go to work, I'll do this, I'll do that. Even sometimes when you go on a holiday or like camping or whatever with the same people, it's just like you can kind of play out exactly what's going to happen. And I hate knowing what's going to happen. I love going to that unknown of like, I don't know what's going to happen if I go to Chernobyl. I don't know what's going to happen if I like can't fly up here and get, like, I just don't know. It's like that excites me, is the unknown of what's going to happen, and the people you meet and the experiences. I think that's what excites me and why I keep doing it. And I hope I can create a life doing the racing or whatever I do after that keeps that happening. I just don't want to get stuck in a rut ever. And I feel like I keep creating this life where it doesn't happen. So I just want to keep that rolling. And if I can share that with people and they get stoked on it, even better. So
no doubts. Done. Sweet. So before we get up though, do you want to do the intro to the show? I got the ads already pre-recorded, but you want to do the What Up Gypsy Gang?
What, just the What Up Gypsy Gang?
No, you introduce the show. You know how I do at the start? You do it.
Oof. Well, this is a big one.
No pressure, bro.
Do I just go whenever?
Done. Go.
Can we get like some sound effects coming in, or is that too much? No, it's just me.
Just go, what's up, Gypsy Gang? It's not Jace. It's Dean Lucas.
It's your boy. What up, Gypsy Gang? We're back again. Nah, fuck, I want to do better than that. I always think about this because when I do my podcast, like at the start of it, I was just like, what's happening? I don't even know what I say now.
I don't even know where the What's Up Gypsy Gang thing come from. And it wasn't until Guy Streeter's kid come up to me one day. I went to their house. It was like a couple of years ago. And he's like, what's up, Gypsy Gang? It's like this little kid. And I was like, fuck, I do say that every single time. I don't even know where that comes from. We're rolling, so you just do what you want.
I'm thinking to like take the piss, eh? Like,
nah, just do whatever. I don't care. It's your show.
What up, Gypsy Gang? On this episode of Jiu-Jitsu Weekly, we go in depth with the Gypsy about everything Jiu-Jitsu. We'll touch on a bit of motorbike action and possibly even mountain bikes, but yeah.
Talk shit on a billionaire.
We'll talk shit on a billionaire, and I don't know what else we did. What else did we touch on?
What else do we talk about? Chernobyl
gets thrown in there.
That's at the end.
Tasmania got thrown in a couple of times.
Yeah, you're weird buying a suit in Amsterdam on mushrooms.
Having a new suit on me.
Dean's wearing a suit. So what's up, Gypsy Gang? Dean just did a shocking job of this intro, but put him on the spot, so it's to be expected. Sitting across from me right now is Dean Lucas. We just wrapped up doing 3 hours. He flew to Brizzy to buy a car and slept in a swag at my house last night. So we thought, fuck it, we'll do a weird podcast. I'm wearing a leopard print shirt. He's wearing a suit with no pants on. And this was a really good podcast. We did have fun. We talked about some mountain biking. We talked about, like I said, Chernobyl. Talked about heaps of just random shit. I enjoyed it. I love it when Dean's in studio.
Pretty standard for us, isn't it? Just random stuff.
Yeah, Dean has got to the point where he's the kind of guest that can come in and talk about nothing. I appreciate that about him. There's only a few people on our guest list that can do that. Dean is now one of those people. But before we get into that, message from our sponsors. Love y'all.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's it.
How many?
I don't have to do any